I don't even know how to really describe it other than like headstrong and egotistical almost. It's just like I'm gonna, like it's such like I'm gonna play my speed and I'm gonna force you to play my speed. Like some people just want to watch the world burn, and I'm playing mono green and I'm gonna burn it to the ground, right?
Welcome you all to Deck Doctors, for your place to take your decks to the next level. With that being said, I am TTC, your MC, Detro the Doc, our host. Talk to me, brother.
This is going to be a very interesting Deck Doctors. One I am particularly excited for because we are talking about a lot of themes and a lot of commanders that I have brewed in the past, that I've thought about a lot. I might not have, put it to actual like sleeves, but I've thought a lot about some of these decks.
I want to give a quick shout out to the level up ecosystem that we are growing in the TC community. If you're looking to level up your game, make sure you join the Level Up crew, a sharpening space for cEDH players looking to take their game to the next level. With that being said, we stand by the values of accountability, curiosity, mutual respect, and teachability, all around a growth mindset. So if you're looking for that type of sharpening space to help take your game to the next level, join the TC community and request to join the Level Up crew today. But with that said, let's get back to the show.
I do want to add on to one more thing with the Level Up stuff. As somebody who is a part of the Level Up group in your server, I really do appreciate that there is an area not only dedicated to people who want to get better as cEDH players, but also an area where after the game, the after post game conversation where people are discussing actions that happened during the game and any viable moments that would help improve anybody. I would have definitely loved to have had that in my earlier career as a cEDH player, most certainly, and to have a dedicated area for that is extremely beneficial to everybody in the community. So if you are interested in doing that, I highly recommend it. It has been a great time. Every time that I've done it, every time that I've been in there to play a game, I've gotten better from it too. So I highly recommend it.
100%. Thank you for that, brother. But come on, brother. We talking about Tivit. Oh, I spoiled it. My bad. No, what's our first deck?
You're all good. So first deck we're talking about is Tivit. This deck was submitted by Bissy Baxton. We both know Bissy pretty well as an incredibly strong player who is always brewing stuff. Last time that we talked to them, they were brewing Selvala at the time. Now they're testing out their brew for a little bit more of a control Esper list, which I'm definitely 100% behind. This is one of the lists that I was very close to building in paper, and the reason why I was very close to building this in paper is because I had just gotten done sitting in a pod with 2 Rogthras players and I think some other irrelevant deck that I do not even remember. Rogthras is a deck that I think is tailored to my playstyle, but I do not want to play ever. It is very interesting. The whole Cradle Farm stuff is extremely powerful, and I'm happy that is the case, but it's just not something I want to force other people to sit through. It's not, but it's powerful. We cannot deny that it is a powerful theme to be around. There are 4 to 5 different versions of Cradle Farm that exist. Some of those lists are not even Thrasios lists, but they are out there and they are abound and is a viable strategy, right? Mm-hmm. For me personally, I think Tivit's capability as probably the best stacks deck in the format right now is something not to be laughed at. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, just because your win con and also too, it solves an issue that a lot of other Esper decks have with the problem that Thassa's Oracle being your only like definitive win con. It solves it with Time Sieve being a card, a combo along with your commander too in the command zone. I think is an exceptionally great reason to be playing this deck, to be playing this commander outside of all the other Esper commanders, right? So I've been around for a while, in cEDH and watched Tivit, come up from why are we playing a 6 mana drop, commander in the command zone, to a commander deck that is consistently putting up wins, to now it is a deck that is almost seen as a little bit fringe now, with everything turning towards a little bit more a turbo speed. I don't see a lot of people playing Tivit as much, which I think is very strange because I think Tivit is one of the decks that best counteracts the turbo meta that's going on right now. I think if you want to play stacks, well, I won't say that. I was going to say if you want to play Stacks, play Tivit, but Stacks is a version of Control that operates on a different axis, while Tivit kind of does interact a little bit more on the stack. But what I think is very interesting about this list, and pretty much is the same throughout any Tivit list, is that they are playing cards in the 99 that are quote-unquote Stacks pieces, but don't hinder everybody and prevent everybody from playing the game. Because that's the thing that you don't want to do whenever you're playing in mid-rangey games, is prevent only maybe 1 to 2 players from being able to play the game, while the third player is able to do whatever they want to, right?
Yeah.
So going down, just if you want to just scroll a little bit
very
down.
Quickly.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I read off Tivit for those who are not familiar with it?
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you good, brother. Yes. So if you all are not familiar, it is Tivit Cellar Secrets, 3 colorless, white, blue, black. Legendary creature, Sphinx Rogue, flying and ward 3. Counselor's Dilemma, whenever Tivit enters or deals combat damage to a player, starting with you, each player votes for evidence or bribery. For each evidence vote, investigate. For each bribery vote, create a treasure token. While voting, you may vote an additional time. The votes can be for different choices or for the same choice. 6/6.
It is a 6/6.
That's a big boy.
It is a big horse. It is a big horse.
All right, good.
So yeah, this deck is pretty much value engine deck, right? It is all about putting some sort of value engine in the early game and controlling the board to a point where you're trying to make sure that everybody is unable to win the game, right? Right in Bissy's form, scrolling down to it. Yeah, biggest. Where was it at? I'm sorry. I can't find it off so quickly, but one of the main things that he mentioned in his form is that Tivit is a deck that is not really trying to win. You know what I mean? It is a deck that always has the mindset that I'll win next turn. You know what I mean? Which is counterproductive to really any cEDH deck that is in existence right now, which is very strange, and I think is a very interesting thought process. And I think is the only deck that is able to do that, really. Because you are playing a deck that is really controlling, and you're playing all of these stacks pieces in your 99 that also contribute to that game plan, ensuring that all of your opponents are unable to win and finding the best absolute window on your turn to be able to put up a win is... I don't even know how to really describe it other than like headstrong and egotistical almost. It's just like, I'm gonna, you know, like, it's such like, I'm gonna play my speed and I'm gonna force you to play my speed, which is so stacks minded. You know what I mean? But stacks really isn't really that much of a theme now anymore. You know what I mean? People don't really play it because of how, you know, one-sided it really gives. Yeah, it's such an incredible mindset to really be in. And I think because that is the mindset of this deck, you don't have to necessarily worry about finding windows like other decks in the same way, right? Because when, you know, Scion or when Blue Farm has a Smothering Tithe and a Ristic Study available, you're like, okay, a window is going to happen. It's going to happen at instant speed. I need to make sure I build up in a correct way to be able to take advantage of that window. Win second, win after the next person who puts their winning tip on the board, on the stack. We got to keep going. But for Tivit is all about, I'm going to win when I make sure, when I'm sure that nobody else can. I'm going to win on my turn when I'm triple protected. I have I have 2 Ranger Captain activations, and I have Tivit Time Sieve in my hand. You know what I mean? Like, they are rest assured trying to win in the most secure way possible. And switching that mindset to being like, I need to win at instant speed, or I need to win on my next turn, or I need to win here and like right now, to being, I'm going to win whenever I feel like I'm absolutely necessary, like I'm ready to win, is actually kind of like a relief. You know what I mean? Like it is less about playing against the time and using the time in your favor, right? And I think that's such a, just off of the mindset that most Tivits, at least from what I've seen playing, I think is such an interesting process, right? And I've played against some really good Tivits, you know, in the past. You know, back when Tivit was in its heyday, I played against some really strong Tivit pilots. I played against some Tivit pilots who put some absolutely buck wild stuff in their 99. You know what I mean? And I think it's such an interesting deck. And another aspect I think is so interesting too is that when it comes to control decks and it comes to decks that are operating on a slower game plan, you get to play a lot of interesting spells. decks that are not really forced, but decks that are trying to play at the same level as everybody else end up having to play the same cards as everybody else too, right? So that means same win cons, same outs, same instant speed enablers, same interaction pieces, all the same stuff. Everyone's trying to play at the same level, so everyone's got to play the same things. Tivit is not really that case. I've seen some Tivits where they don't have Valley Flood Caller, they only have Born Upon the Wind. I've seen Tivit decks that have 3 to 4 board wipes. It is such an interesting build path, and it is so flexible to play control the way that you want to play control. And I think that's just an incredible thought process and the thing to think about. So going into ways to help Bissy get a better feel of their deck, from what they've said in their forum, that they're just a little bit new to the deck, and I think that's completely fine. I follow a guy on Moxfield. He is building decks constantly. He's building and playing decks constantly. So I just play it out a little bit more, get the feel of it. I think that's really the best case scenario. I think that's what works best. I also have had the trouble of switching decks too many times. I don't know if that's really a trouble for Bissy, but I know that was an issue for me. You know what I mean? Like, I've been trying to stick to one specific deck for a while now to really get, a good understanding of it. So that's an easy recommendation. Another issue that Bissy has been having when it comes to playing Tivit is a situation where multiple turbo decks are in the same pod with you, right? So you've got Roxai, Rao, and maybe a blue farm, right? All 3 of those decks can go turbo. You know what I mean? Rao and Roxai assuredly, Timnacrom can if need be, but it's not really not necessarily the game plan that they're trying to work for. Seeing these decks, especially in first or second, if Rog is in first, Roxai is in first, and Rao is in second, that is a tough cookie to bite. But I have to say that this issue, I think, is what Tivit is naturally geared towards. I think with the inclusions of Grafdigger's Cage, Grafdigger's Cage is a main one. The ability to, and I'll read it off here. Grafdigger's Cage, for 1 colorless mana, it is an artifact. Creature cards can't enter the battlefield from graveyard or libraries. Players can't cast cards in graveyards or libraries. So this shuts off Underworld Breach completely, right? So it shuts off one of the main win cons for Roxai, I won't say main win cons, but one of the win cons for Rao, one of the win cons for Blue Farm, right? For only 1 colorless mana. I think that is incredible. There's also Drannith Magistrate, which is a card that has been around for a very long time, and people are not really playing right now because it's too slow. But when you're playing a deck where you're trying to move slow, it works.
It's so good, bro.
Drannith Magistrate, for a colorless and a white creature, human wizard. Your opponents can't cast spells from anywhere other than their hands. That includes their commanders, right? So Rao, if you get that out before Rao, or kill the Rao and then get this out, they're dead in the water. They have a bunch of spells that cost 4 or 5 mana each, right? That they would have been able to cast if they had their commander out and reduced the cost of their instant sorceries by 1. But, they have a bunch of common instants and sorceries that really don't do anything that powerful altogether, or not altogether, but like individually, they're dead in the water. Roxai can work around it, Blue Farm can work around it, but they have to remove the card, right? And that frees up the other person to be able to win after them if they're not able to. So these are just a couple of the stacks pieces that can affect a lot of the main win cons that are played in cEDH, that I think you would arguably want to tutor for, or at least have in hand and ready to be able to deploy early. But I think this, especially for when it comes to a multiple turbo pods, but maybe one that operates on a different axis, like Rogthras, right? Rogthras is a deck that can be turbo, but it operates through producing as much mana as possible with creatures on the board, and untapping and tapping Gaia's Cradle repeatedly. This type of deck is a turbo deck, but doesn't operate in the same, instants and sorcery spells, chain, like Roxai or like Timnacrom, right? There is a card that I think helps fix both, like all of these problems all in one, and it is a card that people have been playing for a while. Not for a while. People have been playing for about maybe 2 to 3 months now, and that is Dampening Sphere. That's what it's
Ooh,
called.
I just played against this one recently.
Dampening Sphere. Dampening Sphere is a card that I think encapsulates what we're like for Tivit, what it is trying to do, right? It is a deck that is playing slowly and is accruing value. And TTC, do you want to read this one off?
Oh, 100%. I got you, brother. Dampening Sphere, 2 colorless artifact. If a land is tapped for 2 or more mana, it produces colorless instead of any other type and amount. Each spell a player casts costs 1 more to cast for each other spell that player has cast this turn.
So yeah, this hoses the Underworld Breach decks. This hoses the Gaia's Cradle decks. Full stop, right? Now, Rogthras might be able to work around it, maybe, but that's very hard when they're their most optimal permanent that would be able to work around this only taps for a colorless, right? And that's Gaia's Cradle. Gaia's Cradle only taps for a colorless, so it stops that. Any spell that they continue to cast after their first one costs an additional mana. It stops that dead in the water. Now, Thassa's Oracle is only a 2-card combo, right? So you still have to worry about that. But that also means that every spell costs an additional 2 to 3 mana, right? And for decks that are trying to win as quickly as possible and things like that, if you put that Dampening Sphere down immediately, things start to shift a little bit. Things become a lot slower. Things are working towards your favor, and when you put that Tivit down and you start producing mana and you just keep on drawing more cards that produce more mana and you're keeping interaction and you've got your Heuristic Study down, you've got your Smothering Tithe down, you're putting yourself in a very, very commanding position. Yeah, Thassa's Oracle is still online, but they have to have protection for your interaction that you have against theirs. And then that means that the spell that they cast after that also costs an additional amount of mana. And you've been sitting on Tivit for maybe 3 turns. You've had a Smothering Tithe out since turn 2. You know what I mean? Like anything is possible, and you've been sitting and waiting and accruing value again and again and again and not really worried about finding the opportune window on your turn for a while now. You know what I mean? You've given yourself enough time, enough breathing room to accrue, to put yourself in as commanding of a position. So I think full stop, all Tivit players that have been putting Dampening Sphere in their decks, I think they're truly onto something, right? And with your deck only having access to Thassa's Oracle and Time Sieve, actually, Thassa's Oracle and Time Sieve, which are only 2 cards each for each combo, that might be maybe 4 mana that you'll have to pay to be able to potentially win the game whenever you're ready. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a hard ask. This is Dampening Sphere. Yeah, it does affect you too, but you're not running Gaia's Cradle. You know what I mean? You're not a Storm deck. The Dampening Sphere is not really going to affect you like every other deck that's being played in the format right now with access to red and black, red, black, and blue. So I think that's a major one. I think that's a major one. I think that helps out a bunch, is Dampening Sphere. I think that is 100%. I think that's a staple card at this point in time right now. As long as Rogthras is going to continue tearing up the format as it is, I think that's going to be a staple card, truly.
I 100% agree. If I can even add on to what you said, like Dampening Sphere also makes it tough if you are the player, the control player. Now it's harder for your opponents to protect their own combos, because like you have brought up, they can go for that Thassa's Oracle, but now they pay 2 for their Thassa's, and let's say they have Demonic Consultation, now they're paying 2 for the Demonic Consultation. Now if they want to even pay a free piece of interaction, they need an additional 2 mana. So when they push, they need 6 mana to push, and that is not that's not including the fact that now you can use all your interaction at your critical points to be able to interact at those points. So I love everything you said there, man. I think Dampening Sphere is a slam dunk for this list, man. Straight up.
Yep. I think it's great. I think it's great. Now, I think I think Dampening Sphere is powerful enough of a card that it kind of, I don't want to say it resolved, like it helps. Like this is the end all be all of what Bissy was going through when it comes to the issues that he was going against. But I think also what is very interesting about this type of play style, right, with Tivit, is that, and I wrote this down too, and I want to say this for what I work. Everyone hates stacks until it's stopping the player that's winning. That's stopping the player that's winning that isn't you, right? Everybody hates stacks until they're stopping a player that's winning that isn't you.
Yeah.
I thought of that and I was like, that's so true. That's so true. People who are playing against stacks or playing against a specific stacks piece, right? They go to remove the stacks piece, right? Unless that is a rule of law, people are typically going to help you keep that stacks piece around, right? If there is a Rogthras player who has got a bunch of creatures out, had hit a hell of a Chatterstorm, storm spell going off, like they've got a bunch of creatures.
Yeah.
And they're activating their Gaia's Cradle and doing all that, but they're down to one card and you play a Curse Totem. I think Rogsai and I think Tim Necrom, if they're in that pod with you, are going to help you keep that Curse Totem around.
Straight up.
Right? They're going to help you keep that Curse Totem around. Tim Necrom might be like, damn, it sucks that I can't use my Ranger Captain, but I don't want Rogthras to have access to all that mana. You know what I mean? I don't want them to be able to activate Thrasios to get more mana. I don't want them to have that, right? So I think what becomes interesting when you're in a pod full of turbo decks, right, is that if you are able to tutor for or have one of these stacks pieces available to you early enough to prevent and slow the game down, right, it becomes a game of who's going to have the removal piece first, right? Everybody else sees that maybe it's not Damping Sphere specifically, but maybe it's one of the Grafdigger's Cage or the what is it? Draineth Magistrate. It's either one of those. They see that on the battlefield. They're like, I got to get rid of that, but I got to get rid of it at the right time, right? So whoever goes to remove it first has win in hand, guaranteed. Or else they would not be removing this piece, because then that frees up everybody else, right? So it becomes an interesting state that happens when these specific pieces enter the battlefield that you can play around, right? You can play around this fact. You can play around the fact that, hey, this person's going for a win. All right, guys, they would not be doing this if they didn't have a win in hand. We know it. It's a turbo deck. They have win in hand. I can protect this. I am the control player. You guys are relying on me to help stop this. But there comes a certain point where I'm not going to do sometimes you just got to be like this. You know what I mean? Like, there comes a certain point where I'm not going to do this, right? Because if the interaction keeps coming and you guys help him remove it or whatever, it becomes a situation of like, there's too many people against me. You know what I mean? It's not going to be beneficial for me to use up all my interaction when you also could potentially have a win, right? So like, I'll start it off, but after this point, we're going to have a conversation from this point on. And that's where the politicking comes in, right? Because you do not want to be the person who has a stacks piece and then you have to use all of your instant and sorcery, or not instant and sorcery, but all your on the stack interactions stop this person from being able to remove your piece, on the battlefield. You don't want to have that situation. So I think it's so interesting that people don't like stacks and people don't like stacks decks. But if it's not a rule of law, right, and it hoses a specific player from being able to win the game, how quickly people change their perspective and are like, no, we need to have that out. You know what I mean? Like, you put that out early, it prevents me from winning the game, but I'm also behind, right? I only have a Remora, I only have a Rhystic Study. I need that to be in play to slow the game down, to help me get back into the game, right? So you see how quickly, like, the entire thought process around everything happened, like how everyone's thought process changes when the stacks piece hits the battlefield. Now everyone's protecting it. Now everybody wants there to be more time. You know what I mean? Everybody wants to play your speed now. And I think that's incredible. I think that is so incredible. And I think just to have that difference of mindset alone, right? The difference of mindset alone is enough is enough. You know what I mean? It's enough to make everybody play your speed. And it's just like, hey, these pieces are not preventing you from playing the game in specific aspects, unless you're like a full on like one note type of turbo deck or something like that. It's not preventing you from playing the game. You're still able to play the game, just not the way you want to.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And I think that's incredible. I think that alone is incredibly powerful.
100%. I agree. That you saying that reminded me of one of the political phrases I use, and when I tell people, they're like, "Oh, I can't win through the Draenith." I'm like, or how can I play the game with the Draenith? And I'm like, well, you can still win through the Draenith. You still run Thassa's, or you still do this, and they'd be like, well, yeah. I'm like, so yeah, you don't need to remove this, because if you remove it, You have to take accountability and look at all the other players who you've unlocked. Yeah, the Drannith is problematic, but we're going to bring it back that Rock Thrash. They didn't get their Thrasios out fast enough. So can you stop the Thrasios? Can you win fast enough? They'd be like, no. I'm like, then you probably got to go search for your other win con then. Especially if they're playing something like Rockside or Blue Farm or any type of Thassa's-based deck or non-commander-centric win con. Yeah. Oh, you don't care about this graphic stage. Oh, you don't care about this. In reality, they kind of do. But the immediate problem is if we unlock this, the Thrasios deck has, I've literally just one of my recent games against the Thrasios deck, they got 56 mana on untap. Really? Yep. Can you beat that? Okay, if you could beat it, go at it, brother. Let's get it. Let me see it. So, no, I resonate with that a lot. That statement of what you said about understanding that you can still play the game. And I love adding to people, like, you can still win through this stacks piece. You don't have to remove it. You know, that same mystical tutor to go get it into the flood mall can be used to go get a demonic consultation or tainted pact. And that means all you need to find now is go find your thousands. And you can still win through this. You just got to be intentional.
And to even help the people who are playing against Tivit, right? My immediate thought process too, and I have this bad habit where like I can see a game differently, like when I'm not playing it, but when I'm playing it, I'm playing completely differently. But I feel like there's a scenario, right, where you're playing against a Tivit and they have a piece out that's stopping you from playing the game. You can look around the board and you can also see who is in the same colors as you, who has the same win cons as you. They want the piece removed just as badly as you do, right? Honestly, what I would do is I would just accrue value and I would just wait for them to remove it. You know what I mean? Like, I think that would probably be the best case scenario, or wait until you have a Cyclonic Rift or something like that and just wait until the absolute last minute. Get a Smothering Tithe out, get a Remora out. You know what I mean? When you're playing against a Tivit, and just wait it out if you want to try and beat them. Now, the hard part is that Tivit is playing a slow game too, and they're playing a lot of counter spells, and they're probably going to put more stacks pieces, quote unquote stacks pieces out too. So it becomes a harder game to really play, you know, and that's in Tivit's favor too, is that they're sitting, they're waiting, they're being patient, they're controlling the board as little, you know, they're controlling the board. So even though that would probably be my thought process to switch to, that's still a hard thing to do. You know what I mean? Yeah, they're playing things like Commandeer in their deck. So, you know, your ad nause is now their ad nause. They don't have to go as deep. They can go for 5 cards. They can go for 6 or 7 cards. That's it. That's all they needed. You know what I mean? But you don't have an ad nause. So, yeah, you know, like that's what you have to work around. That's what you have to work with.
100%. Yeah. Any other thoughts for this Tivit brew from Bissy Baxton as ways to navigate the full turbo pod? Of course, we can all just force a draw, but ways to overcome it that came to mind?
Yeah. So I have not played a control list before. Like, I've played against them, but I have not specifically played it. And the few times that I have played against control lists, something like Shurikai or Talion, things like that, it can be extremely hard to close the game out for decks like that, right? Especially for Shurikai, because it's not in, you know, game-ending colors. Talion is in game-ending colors in blue-black, but it can be hard to close games out. One thing, right, that a friend of mine, Cooley, who is a Tivit player, he has been doing is just directly not accepting draws. And I think while I'm quick to accept a draw in most situations, I think it is a smart way to start trying to play the game in controlled environments. Not controlled environments, but like if you're playing in the crit league or anything like that, or in level ups, right? If you're playing over there, you know, don't accept a draw. Don't accept it. If there's plenty of time, you know what I mean, you can get back to your turn, and you think that you have a chance to interact correctly, right? And this takes a lot of time too, right? Because there's a lot of factors that go into cEDH games. And every time a single spell is cast or a land is accidentally tapped and untapped, and it's like, wait, no, I'm not going to do that. Situations change completely, right? So information is going in and out constantly. It's hard to keep track of. But maybe not accepting draws as your first out, right? When you're playing a deck like this is probably something that I would probably recommend, right? 100%. Because when you're trying to win at your speed, somebody putting up a draw, that's not a part of your speed. You know what I mean? That's not the speed that you're trying to work with. Yeah. You know, so try maybe not accepting as many draws, you know what I mean? And really trying to play games out and make sure that, like, okay, definitively 100% at this point in time, cannot win. I cannot stop this person from winning. A draw needs to happen here. You know what I mean? Because a lot of situations, if there are heuristic studies out and draw engines are out and smothering ties are out, information is always changing. So I think grasp for straws if you have to. Don't accept that draw. You know what I mean?
No, 100%. I resonate and agree with that. I actually had a game recently that I was playing within the Level Up ecosystem with the Level Up crew, and it ended in a draw, but it was one of those draws where it made sense, but something in me just said, like, someone could have won this game. And I reflected, and the first level of reflection was, well, part of the reason we had to the draw, and this is not to push the blame, but to acknowledge the truth, my opponents were either playing not to lose or they were playing for the draw. And that's some part of the reality. If you're just the only individual not playing, if you're the only individual playing to win, and you have 3 opponents who are playing to either not lose or just playing for the draw, it's going to be more difficult to get the win. And so then the next thing I had to think about was, well, if 3 opponents are playing for they believe their only out is to fight for the draw, how do I still get the win? Because I agree with Detroit. I don't think you have to take every draw offered, but how do I overcome it? And what I found is that getting engine after value piece after value piece, whether it be the Valley Flood Caller, High Fate Trickster, heuristic study, smothering tide, cloning, something else. Once you get value piece after value piece after value piece and partner that with foresight, thinking 1, 2, 3 turns ahead, especially in the control shell or any type of mid-range shell, you can position yourself where when the table is ready to offer a draw, you're ready to say, no, let's play it out. Let's see what happens. And because you were diligent with when Detroit brought up, like, hey, like, this is my stack speed, this is my contribution. I need you all's assistance. Like, I can't be the only one controlling this game. I need you all's assistance to reset this board. And you couple that with, I've been thinking a few turns ahead, so I've been saving some counter magic. Shout out to Azzy. He's really good at always having like that one last piece of interaction in hand. So if he has to force a draw, he can use it, but he also can use it to stop the player, to help reassure his untap. Every little advantage you can get, and you keep layering on those advantage pieces, whether it be maybe another stacks piece to lock people out, or another advantage piece like your heuristic study, your mystic more. I found that just layering that on just helps you mitigate the mid-range game and then overcome these games where you feel like your opponents are forcing you into a unwinnable, quote unquote, unwinnable position. And by the time they're ready to give up and just say, let's just draw it, you're ready to say, no, I'm not accepting the draw. And even when they try to power drive you, which it's not fun, but when everyone says, nope, I'm gonna stop you, I'm like, you can say, you know what, no, I'm gonna commandeer that, and then I'm gonna let all that go through, and then I'm gonna silence that, and you know what, I'm gonna follow that up with a permission denied. Oh, yep, you know what, you just drew 5 cards off that thing with those draw triggers on the stack. I've been using app map in my favor because I'm seat 3 or I'm seat 3 and you're player 4, and so this is all happening during play your turn, and so app naps in my favor. I'll take my draw triggers before you all draw. I'm gonna orange chant the players, so when they get locked out, you want to keep fighting. Let's keep fighting on top of that. But you got to think about that. You got to think about this turns ahead. You got to put the engines down to support it, and you have to have that. You have to know, like exactly what Dejo said. You have to know when to show it and when to hold it. So you have to layer all these pieces together.
Yeah. It's interesting because usually all the decks that I play are usually some type of turbo deck or something like that.
Yeah, I love
so. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to only really care about, especially like hard turbo. It's fun to only care about yourself and not really what else is going on. And then after your win gets stopped, you're just like, okay, I'll just put a heuristic study down and then see what happens. So it's beautiful. So to play a deck like this, it's a different type. It's a different type of beast.
100%.
But if I may, I just want to revert back to a couple of things that we can do for the list specifically.
Yes.
Maybe adding and taking away some cards.
Yes.
Specifically, when I looked at it, it looked really solid.
Good.
There are some incredible pieces that I think, interaction pieces that people do not play and do not expect. So in the creature section, Subtlety has been a card that has destroyed me in some aspects, right? It is a card that people don't really expect all that much, and it is also a creature, right? And for the small cost of exiling a blue card, like 3 other cards in your deck too, 4 other cards in your deck. For exiling a simple blue card, that's not a big ask. It's a 4-drop, but you're never really casting it for 4. You know what I mean? It's usually always free. So I think that is an incredible piece of interaction. For 2 colorless and 2 blue is a creature elemental incarnation. It has flash, flying. When this creature enters, choose up to 1 target creature spell or planeswalker spell. Its owner puts it on their choice of the top of the library, on top or on bottom of their library. My bad. So basically, if they cast a creature, you're like, no, put that creature on top or on the bottom of your library, please. And I swear to God, there was one time I was playing against somebody, and they were playing Time, and they were so into the game, like when they were trying to cast their Time, that let a Tivit player cast Subtlety and targeted their Time, and they put it on top of their deck, and then they cracked a fetch land. So like like I have never seen a Time deck shut down so royally bad in my life than seeing them shuffle their Time into the 99 of their deck.
Oh my!
Like, worse than the graveyard, worse than exile. Exile is probably worse, but still, like, you have to get to that eventually. So like, this card rips. And TTC, I know from looking at your
Marnius?
Yeah, Marnius. From looking at your Marnius list, you are also somebody who has put Subtlety in your decks too.
Yes, mid-range control, baby, all day. So like, I kept floating around it and talking to pilots about it, and I was like, dude, like, what do you think about this? And everybody was like, it only hits creatures. But I was like, something feels off. So I finally said, you know what? I love y'all, but fuck it, I'm gonna try this bitch out. And it just clicked. There is always a minimum of 3 legal targets, sometimes upward of 6 legal targets, just being commanders. That's not including Grand Abolishers, Ranger Captain Veils. You want to stop their stacks piece from stopping you. So maybe someone else plays a Drannith. Subtlety. I just need to get my Tivit down. You can play it next turn. You know what I'm saying? All the little things there. It has the same weakness as something like a Force of Will, where you gotta have it in hand. You can't bounce it off the board. You have to bounce it off the stack. But the fact that it gets around the uncounterability of even things like the new Hexing Squelcher, which it's been very solid meta from like my play experience recently. Like, I've played with it a little bit. I've loved it. It's been cool, but it hasn't been like as crazy as people have been said. I'm gonna keep jamming games and see what happens. But this being able to get around Hexing Squelcher, like bouncing off the stack, goes along with sinking the super. But like the floor being, hey, I'm gonna hit a commander, which hitting a Timna, hitting a Tyam, hitting a Kennen, it's not bouncing it to hand. It's to the top of the library. So I will see that next turn. I don't want to see it this turn. Ral, you know what I'm saying? Like the little stuff like that. And I'll even say it just a little bit crazy, because we had a recent TC Daily post where it's like, what's one spell that people will be, like, people are always that you feel like more people should be countering? And the first thing everyone was replying to was like commanders. And it's crazy to say this, but everyone talks about how good Rog is. But say if you're seat 2 and you see Rog come out on the board, and like your only piece is a Subtlety, bouncing that Rob to the top is not a terrible idea, because that shuts off their free. I'm not saying that's the first thing you should jump to. You still use critical thinking, but it shuts off their free interaction. It turns off their Culling the Weak. The red version, that's a sorcery. Remind me what that is, brother.
Infernal Plunge.
Infernal Plunge. Like, everyone's gonna shit on you, say, oh, this a low elo play, but it's like, dude,
no,
like, if this is my win, if I look at my hand, not that you explain this to them, but for yourself, you look at your hand and say, this is the only piece that I can keep. On a Modal 5, I kept a turn 2 Rhystic Study, and this is my one piece of interaction. The only other guys a Blue Farm, other guys Kennen, maybe they're on low moles as well. I know that this is my main point of interaction for Rockside deck. You're going to get rocked down easily next turn, but can I time walk you just a tad bit so you can't go Culling the Weak, Mox Amber, beseech the mirror, away the thing, and then get rid of the Amber just to then push out a turn 1 Necro on the play, and I can't touch any of those spells, but can I settle to your commander just to time walk you, so then my other opponents, whether it be a Blue Farm, a Kennen Rock Thrash, can then support us when we have our mana up? That's just another option. It's not always about having the perfect option, because The perfect action would usually always just be have multiple force tools in your deck, but we can't do that. So this is a way to have the redundancies. Similar for our turbo decks, we got Dark Ritual, we got Rain of Filth, we got Kung the Weak. Just more options for the same thing. So yeah, I'm with this 100%, brother. I love the subtlety include.
And another card that I think at least most Tivit players are on is Grand Arbiter Augustine.
Oh yeah.
I think some Tivit players are playing this right now. Not everybody. It's one of those stacks pieces that does ultimately skew the game, that can ultimately end up skewing the game and not in your favor. But I believe that stacks pieces like this, where they increase the amount of cost for specific spells by 1, I think are completely and utterly like reasonable, right? It's just like, hey, whatever spell you're gonna cast, keep mana up for it. Keep mana up. You know what I mean? Keep a mana up.
Literally.
You know, it's just like Vexing Bobble. Keep mana up for it.
Just hold the mana up. Yeah.
So I think Grand Arbiter Augustine also being able to reduce the cost of your Tivit by 2 is also not anything to laugh at. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think that's incredible. Also, making a lot of your interaction pieces cost an additional mana less is also great. Your value engines, an additional mana less, is also very good too. I think that's great. I think it's great. Another card, I think actually, a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, a card that I'm specifically thinking about in a lot of my decks right now is, I think, Candelabra of Tanos. I don't know how you spell that, but
we're gonna figure it out. You keep talking, I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna get it out right here.
Yeah, so this is a Rog Thras specialty, right? This is a 1 mana artifact that has an activated ability where you tap it and you pay X mana into it. Yeah, there we go. Candelabra of Tanos. 1 mana artifact, X tap, untap X target lands, right? So you might be saying, hey, this isn't Rog Thras. This isn't Yoshi Thras. What are we doing? Why is this card in the deck? I think this card is interesting, especially in control lists. I think it's more viable in control lists as a way to help prolong the game, right? I think allowing, right, your opponents to interact with you when they're tapping out all of their mana is something to consider. Now, how far you go with that, I'm not entirely sure. This is just ballpark area that, I'm just spitting whatever. But I'm like, whenever there's a situation where, someone's trying to remove your stacks piece, you've got a Candelabra of Tanos out, and you've got a buttload of mana. But you're not really drawing enough cards. You have a Rhystic Study out, and you need more cards. Well, one other player has been, just turning a blind eye to things and just been playing their stuff and just trying to, bulldog their way through whatever stacks piece you have out and whatever's going on, right? So they've been tapping out completely every turn, but they have a couple pieces of interaction, but they need a couple of mana, right? So maybe you've got like a Mana Vault that you played that you really didn't need to. You tap it for 3, you untap 2 lands. You untap 2 of your lands, you untap, okay, what interaction do you have? What interaction can you use? So you get information about what interaction they need, what land they need. You get a little bit more information to what interaction they have. You're like, okay, hold on to that. I might be able to untap that. Maybe use a piece of interaction that you have. Maybe do a little bit of bluffing that, hey, I don't really have the specific piece to stop this right now, or I don't have a counter spell in hand. Maybe now's the time for you to use that. You activate the Candelabra, you untap 2 of your lands. Well, now an interaction that you didn't have before, or interaction that you had before but you weren't able to cast, or whatever, is now on, and now you've untapped 1 of their lands. You're like, okay, now use your interaction, right? 'Cause I don't have anything. You didn't have anything at the time, but now that the candle's been activated and you've got 2 lands up, now you might have something. A Swan Song and a Silence is up now, right? Things have changed. So I think this is a great politicking tool. I think it's a great tool to, if there is a very what is that land called? The land that has the you can tap it for each artifact you control. You tap it, you create a blue mana for each artifact you control. They just printed it, and
you talking about the one that was banned?
No. They printed it and it's legal, but it enters tapped, and you have to like.
Oh yeah. You have
to station. It's
the station lands. Yeah, I got you. Keep talking. I got you.
Land. So that land is completely broken if it didn't enter tapped and you had to station it for 12. That one.
Wording.
Yeah.
Or did I go past it already?
No, it's probably it starts with a U. Yeah, there it is right there.
There we go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Uthranos Titanic God Core.
yeah, Station
Land
12, but
Planet. Station 12 when you got a 6/6, pretty freaking easy.
I'm
But you
okay.
can also
Keep
attack
going.
and make mana and make clues with it. So, but it is tapped, and it taps for a blue. You can station it for 12, and then when it's stationed for 12, you tap it, you pay a blue into it, and it taps for a blue for each artifact you control. So it's super powerful, but you've got like 12 hoops to jump through, literally.
Yeah.
So I don't even know where I was going with this, but if you have this and like Displacer Kitten, I mean Esper Rogthras, you know what I mean? Like that's cool. It's a big ask, especially if you're running, Dampening Sphere, because then this is an Anombo that you tapped your Tivit for, you know what I mean? So I wouldn't recommend it. But all I'm saying, to go back to the candle, is that I think it's an incredibly powerful politicking tool. I think it allows you to gain information. I think it also allows you to create situations where, hey, I'm tapped out, guys. I don't have anything I can do right now. You know what I mean? Or I can use this candle. You can do your thing, and then, you use your interaction. That's fine with me. I can do that. Or in the rare case, it's like, hey, this player can present a win, but they can't do it because they're tapped out right now and they've drawn a bunch of cards. Hey, I can facilitate you to get that win, but I need you to like offer a draw. Let's do a draw.
Right.
You can win right now on the stack. You down? I'm down. Let's do that.
Yeah.
I think it's incredibly powerful. And also with things like Kitten in the deck, I think it still works phenomenally with Kitten. It allows you to do some color fixing too, to make sure that you're able to cast the spells that you need to. I think it works great, especially in a deck where you're playing a little bit more pip heavy cards and a lot more expensive cards. Making sure that you are able to cast those spells too, I think is incredible. You know what I mean? And I think that's definitely worth consideration. 100%.
Yeah. I really like that. I especially like it how the floor of the card is literally like you could take. He's not on City of Traders, but the floor of the card being like, hey, paired with Ancient Tomb. Now you turn your Ancient Tomb into a Trancient Tomb where it taps for 3. I know it was a corny joke, but
like, pay for life, tap it for 3.
Right.
I'd run it.
Yeah. Literally like, that's the floor of the card. And then the ceiling is, I love what you brought up about the color fixing and even just kind of keeping your opponents honest. Like I've actually had that exact play with Candelabra Thanos used against me in a game that we played in the Level Up crew with the Level Up LFG, and it was like I found a line through it, but it was very unexpected because we had a Tiam player with that Candelabra, and right when I put someone had didn't have the mana up for their what was
Deathrite Shaman.
Deathrite Shaman
again.
And I was looking like, what is
that card is a bane of your existence. That card it's a thorn in your side.
I swear, because I got through it in that game, but they got me the next day. It was like Deathrite Shot. I don't care what anyone says. That's a phenomenal card. Don't stop running it in your Golgari plus list. But no, they literally used the trick of Camera Thanos. Is great because he had green in his list, or he was using it for a ramp value, but then being able to untap your opponent's land, and the opponent had in their mind, so they let me play things through. But when it was almost too late, he said, oh yeah, untap this land. And I was like, all right. Thank God I had to redirect lightning for the Deathrite Shaman ability, but it was so sneaky, and it's a consistently sneaky play. So I like this. I like this tech. Very unique. Like this.
I really wanted to make sure that we at least got some like deck recommendations, some deck changes that could happen. Yeah. I don't know about for what to take out. That is up to you, Bissy, whenever you watch this back, when you do. But another couple of cards that I think could probably be pretty good is Chakra Meditation also. I am just like last month when we did Deck Doctors number 3. I don't think I recommended this. I think it might have been number 3. I think there was a list I was recommending, like the Chakra Meditation, Displacer Kitten, Tezzeret Tezzeret stuff.
Yeah.
I think Chakra Meditation actually works the best in control lists where you are using your interaction 1-for-1 for somebody else's to get that card back into your hand off like just drawing a card is exceptional, and at 3 mana, I think that's doable. You get an instant and sorcery back from your grave, you know what I mean? It combos with Displacer Kitten, it combos with Cabal Ritual if you make enough mana, Dark Ritual if you make enough mana. I think it works phenomenal. I think it's worth it. I think it's worth considering, at least for the most part, right? Mm-hmm. And it is another technical out, if you think about it, for your list, because now as long as you have like a silence effect in play, you're able to just keep casting Cabal Ritual and Dark Ritual. Although I don't think he's on Cabal Ritual. I'm not 100% sure. But
no Cabal
either of
Ritual.
those two spells.
Yeah, gotta run your. How you gonna?
Oh no, there is Dark Ritual.
There's but how you gonna run your subtlety if you're on Cabal Ritual, bro? Come on now, it's the tech, bro. It's the tech.
But I think it's another. I think it's another out, and like a 1-for-1. Like, hey, I cast a counter spell, I get that spell back at least. You know what I mean? I get a card back at least for that, which is kind of like maybe not really the case because you also have to discard a card, but like neither here nor there. It combos with Displacer Kitten, which I think works well. Tezzeret is also a good add to the list too. It gets your 1 mana drop artifacts like Tezzeret Cruel Captain. It gets your 1 mana artifacts like Grafdigger's Cage, the Candelabra, Soul Ring, Mana Vault, all that type of stuff. It also allows you to untap your artifacts. So I'll quickly read this off for you. Tezzeret Cruel Captain for 3 colorless mana, which is important. It's all colorless. Whenever an artifact you control enters the battle, put a loyalty counter on Tezzeret, which is very, very good if you have Smothering Tithe out, by the way. For 0, you can untap target artifact or creature. If it is an artifact creature, put a +1/+1 counter on it. That's pretty good. For -3, search your library for an artifact with mana value 1 or less, reveal it and put it into your hand, then shuffle. I'm not even gonna read the ultimate. It does not matter. So if you don't know, this combos with Displacer Kitten and Sensei's Dividing Top, right? Because you are able to put the Sensei's Dividing Top. You're able to cast the Sensei's Dividing Top, or if you have Displacer Kitten and Tezzeret enters the battlefield for 4. You're able to get Sensei's Dividing Top off of the search, right? You put that into your hand, you cast it, you flicker Tezzeret, you're able to search again, but you don't want to do that just yet. When the Sensei's Dividing Top resolves, you activate it to draw a card. Are you some loop here, right? There's some loop here. Yeah,
no, 100%. I think you had it perfectly. Like where with D Kitten and Tezzeret on the stack, you cast that Tezzeret, and then you will find the Sensei's Dividing Top. You just need and so you'll also need to make sure that you can generate
the mana vault, but you can get the mana vault off of this. So off of the Kitten trigger for Sensei's Dividing Top, you'll flicker the Tezzeret. It'll come back in with 4 loyalty. You can get mana vault then, and then you're able to cast mana vault. So either you get mana vault first, or you get to Sensei's Dividing Top. But either way, you're able to flicker and get both of them, and then you're able to consistently get going. Because like whenever you tap the mana vault, you get 3 mana, so that's 3 times that you can cast Sensei's Dividing Top before you need to flicker the Mana Vault again, right?
And you draw. Shit! So it's technically non-deterministic, but it's close enough to be deterministic.
It's close enough.
Shit!
That's enough. Yeah.
Oh shit! Okay, so we need Tezzeret, Cruel Captain, Sensei's Dividing Top, a high mana output, or really Mana Vault's the best one, and then Displacer Kitten. That's cool.
Yeah, but the good thing is that Tezzeret and Displacer Kitten is really all you need in order to get this thing started. If Sensei's Dividing Top and Mana Vault are still in your 99, right? So you are able, So cast Tezzeret, search for either one of those 1 mana draw, 1 artifact mana, or Soul Ring. Either one. You can get either one of those ones, and then you're able to continue the loop from that way. You know what I mean? Right. But that is more for a deck that is, or a player that really wants to find their window, pretty early, and Tivit doesn't really need to do that. So I don't know how necessary that really is, but it could be the case. Untapping a Mana Vault or a Grim Monolith or whatever is pretty good. You know what 100%. I mean? Can't doubt that. And also being on Sensei's Dividing Top gives you an excuse to also run Counterbalance too, right? So I think that is also extremely viable. Also,
100%. I think honestly, Tivit is a phenomenal counterbalance deck. Like, first of all, if you know how to play it right, if y'all never, I'm gonna get a gameplay recorded with you on counterbalance, because if you've never seen Detro play counterbalance, you've never played it right. I like the restraint you show with even letting powerful spells resolve, so you can wait for that critical spell. It's like having a counter spell but on board. A lot of times people like the top players partially because they know what that critical spell is. They know what they need to counter, and if you play the same way with counterbalance, you have a really crazy psychological loop where your opponents never really know, because you don't have to make deals about what you let resolve or not. You just let people's play, and they can maybe get too comfortable or play really restrained. Like it really is like a psychological warfare that goes on if you know how to play counterbalance correctly. It just gets better. I agree with the Sensei's Dividing Top.
for sure.
All right.
Those are really my main things. I know I didn't really give too much information about what to change in the deck specifically, but I'm relying on Bissy really knowing his deck well enough and knowing the concepts of what's popular in cEDH for Tivit. I'm just giving a little bit more of like thought process changes and a couple of more includes that might be considerable.
100%. I love everything you touched on. One of my favorite things that you have brought up, like as just a closing before we transition, man, is I love how you start this off talking about how patient Tivit really can be. And I think one of the things that we talked about it, but really didn't spend a crazy amount of time touching on it, having a combo in the command zone, just like this Tivit time sieve combo, just allows you to be patient. Mm-hmm. It says I can just win next turn because no one is jokes aside, no one's holding a gun to your head and says you have to win right now. As long as you can keep the pace of the game moving forward, so you can guarantee you get another untap, you can drop that time sieve next turn once you create a better window for yourself. And depending on how well you're playing, when you keeps up with making sure you keep the pace going for yourself and also making sure your opponents don't take too long politic and you keep the conversation moving. Hey, let's make sure we get the game actions going in the kind way. You can make sure you pace yourself, so then you can keep saying that you passed. I've done this in games where, especially back in my day when I played Rionia Fire Dancer, I'll pass turns so many times. People like, oh, TDC's gonna win. I was like, if I was gonna win, why didn't I just win last turn or the turn before that? You know what I'm saying? They'd be like, and so then all that mental energy goes to the people who are getting fidgety, because a lot of times psychologically people feel like because we're playing commander they have to take game actions, and that's by many times I recommend people there's power in inaction. You don't have to take all of your game actions perfectly spread out across the game. You can wait till turn 4, 5, 6 to present your win. Now be cognizant, of course, in time tournament matches it changes a little bit, but just take your time, be patient with this deck. I love how you brought that up. I also loved how you spent time talking about the 3 turbo decks and what now. And I love how you gave the remedy of by having the key stacks piece in your hand, as long with a draw engine, really allows you to slam, to make sure that for me, when I'm thinking about it, is if I'm seat 1 or 2, can I just get down my key stack piece by turn 1? And that's making sure I have enough ritual based mana to get that out early. If I'm on seat 3 or 4, I may want a subtlety or a force of will or force negation, just to make sure that I can untap, at least get some mana on board, and then progress my draw engines and so on and so forth, because he's on a really, really awesome suite. He's even on the Wang Tong and all the other good stuff. The other thing that we didn't get to talk about too much, but I know that D-Trove knows this and Bissy Baxter knows this, is that knowing your opponent's lines helps you a lot in control shells. If you have experience playing Ral, or if you played against Ral enough to where you know where the choke point of the deck is, or the rock side deck, you know where the choke point of the deck is, it allows you to be more patient with your interaction, because what is the likelihood that I know at a certain point, if I don't interact here, the likelihood that they're going to run away with the game is higher. So you don't have to be respectfully, you don't have to have that new player fidgets where they feel like Mr. Kimura, oh, here's my mental missteps. No, pass on fish, passing that. Ooh, Vampiric Tutor. Let me look at my hand. What do I have? Let me look at that. I'm going to go ahead and use this mental misstep here to hit this, because I know that I can't interact here, or I'm saving my force of negation against the Rao player who's seat 2. I'm seat 3. The Rock's Eye seat 1. I'm like, okay, let me hit this Vampiric. This seems like a critical spell there, because I kind of see their board stay up card count. I can save the force of negation against the Rao player, or my whatever against the Rao player. And then when I untap, I can then develop my Dranith, or the really awesome damping sphere that you brought up. That was a really awesome include. So yeah, that was the last thing I was gonna say. I think the dampening sphere tech was so smart. I really love that. So
and there are a ton of cards in this deck. Urza, Flash Photography. There's a ton of them in this deck that we could spend a whole another hour talking about individually, right? And how they affect this deck so much. But I think the deck is well rounded. I think the deck is in a great spot right now. It's slept on 100%. Everybody's trying to go fast. I think Dampening Sphere is really the mainstay. It's like this card fundamentally makes everything a little bit easier. I've been hosed by it, and you want to keep it around when it hits the battlefield sometimes too, right? You want to keep it around. So I think this is going to help. A little bit of a mind shift switch too, and more practice playing the deck too, and just getting comfortable with it is really all Bissy needs. You know what I mean? He is a competent player enough as is already. So it's just a new path he's going down, right? And it's unfamiliar territory, but I'm sure a couple more games, adding an Damping Sphere and a mindset shift a little bit, be golden. You know what I mean? It will be golden.
100%, yeah. That was one card I actually very quickly want to get your opinion on is the new flash photography. I've heard some people who love it, heard some people kind of feeling the wall about it. What are your opinions on flash photography?
I think flash photography is really good in decks that are playing a little bit slower compared to turbo decks, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to put this in Scion. I wanted to put this in different lists, right? I wanted to put it in a lot of different lists, but it's just the two blue pips is just hard to really get in some colors. But the power of having an additional Rhystic Study, an additional Smothering Tithe, an additional any permanent, by the way, any permanent. If you want a Gaia's Cradle, get a Gaia's Cradle. Then that candelabra is really getting turned on, right? Like, I think that's pretty useless to be using it for that reason. But hey, you know what? There might come a situation where you need to do that, right?
Yeah.
But also, I have also been hosed by this card sitting in somebody's graveyard and me not realizing that it was there, right? And they have access to casting instants and sorcery spells at instant speed, and they cast it, and I was going to destroy their Bolas Citadel, and they just got another copy of Bolas Citadel. You know what I mean? Like, I think it is very, very good in decks that are taking a little bit slower time getting built. Mid-range, like not just mid-range lists, but like mid-range extra lists, right? Mid-range lists that are really trying to take a slower path towards things. Not running Necropotence, not running Ad Nauseam, not running any of those turbo shell cards. You know what I mean? Like, they are really trying to take their time. That is where this card shines, I think.
100%.
You know what I mean? I just watched a video a little while ago with on the Critical EDH YouTube channel where Max P was talking about his Tymna Thrasios list. He's talking about his Tymna Thrasios list, and he sung high praises about this list. And in there, they're talking about the two different versions of Tymna Thrasios. You know, they have the more mid-range-ier good cards variation of Tymna Thrasios, and then the more, Cradle Farm version of Tymna Thrasios. And in Max P's list, he talks and sings high praises for flash photography and how it is just a powerful card in those slower type lists. 100%.
Yeah. 100%. I resonate and agree with that, man. Yeah, I love that analysis of the card, and I don't have anything else to add, dude. Like, awesome review for Tivit. Any other last thoughts?
No, man, I don't have anything else.
All right. Well, I'm excited to talk about this next deck. But before we do, I just want to say to you all, thank you all for being an amazing audience thus far. But if you are looking for another way to support the TC community as well, get some weekly benefits, as in, I want you all to check out the Thunder Legion Patreon community. Notably, you can get weekly exclusive content as well as a place to get exclusive gameplay and post-game podcasts with the Level Up Log series, where I share my weekly lessons to help you level up your cEDH gameplay. But with that said, let's get back to the show. All right, we are talking now about something a little bit faster. Grixis Kess. All right, but not too much faster. Just a tad bit. Yeah.
Tad bit. Just a tad bit.
Just a tad bit. Just a little squeeze.
Yeah. So, do you want to read Kess off?
Yeah, I got you. So, Kess Dissonant Mage, legendary creature, human wizard, flying. Once during each of your turns, you may cast an instant or sorcery spell from your graveyard. If a spell cast this way would put into your graveyard, exile it instead, and it's a 3/4. So it got a little bit of dump in the trunk. Not too big, not Tivit, but it's got a little dump in the trunk.
Yeah. So this list was submitted by Panic. This is a kind of reanimator turbo list. It's running things like Hoarding Broodlord, and it's trying to reanimate that big ass fucking dragon, man. The reason I chose this list is because, one, Hoarding Broodlord is one of my favorite ways to win in cEDH. I love that combo so much. I've also been thinking about versions of lists that can run the Hoarding Broodlord line. Grixis is a good color for it. but I don't know if Kess is the right commander.
Ooh.
Kess is a pretty old cEDH commander, right? And in pre-Rogsci days, before people realized how broken Rograk was, Kess was being played, and Kess was really powerful at the time when the games were a little bit slower, because you're able to cast her. She was really powerful for being able to cast a Demonic Consultation or a Tainted Pact and go get Thassa's Oracle, and then just cast the Tainted Pact or Demonic Consultation on your turn. If you cast it at sorcery speed, right? Or not sorcery speed, instant speed. You can go to your turn and cast it. You know what I mean? So use your tutor to go get the card you need, and then use the tutor again, right? Very strong, very, very strong, right? And you can do this with any of your tutors too, or any of your two-hand tutors, like Demonic Tutor. Cast it again from the graveyard to get both of your win cons. But Kess really isn't really being played that much anymore. She's not. She's been outclassed by Rogsci in the turbo aspect, and she's been outclassed in the mid-range aspect for Kefka because of his ability to be able to draw cards and force your opponents to not draw cards, right? So it's been a tough ride for Kess as of late, and now we are entering the theme of reanimation for Hoarding Broodlord, right? So whenever there are situations like this on Deck Doctors, where I personally think that there might be a commander that fits the game, that fits the style that you're trying to emulate here, or fits the style that you're trying to play here, right? I do it from both ways. So we can do a version of this that does the reanimation aspect for Kess, and we can do this for a little bit for a commander that I think might fit this better. So for fitting this theme in Kess, if Kess is the die-hard commander that you want to run here, I don't think it's a bad game plan. I really don't. From what Panic said in their form, they're not having really that much of a problem playing the deck. They said that their weaknesses right now is that it's a little bit fragile. The Hoarding Broodlord combo is exceptionally fragile because it's fragile to both on-board removal and like actual interaction too, right? So it is incredibly fragile, 100%. Nothing you can really do about that besides playing a little bit more interaction in your deck, which I imagine is probably pretty hard because Grixis is a well-established color in cEDH, so it's pretty hard to add more pieces without taking out a lot of things you would probably actually need in the list. So I'd probably just keep it to that. They've also been struggling with the idea of debating on whether or not if they want to turn this into a little bit more of a mid-rangier list, right? But being unable to keep up with mid-range lists, or saying fuck it and just play Rogsci. And then, the dreaded issue with playing cEDH is just like, I want to do this, but fuck it, I just might ball and just play Timnacron or Rogsci, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm there too, you know what I mean? But if we're building around with Kess, I think it's a little bit difficult because Kess prioritizes instants and sorcery spells, right? So there are a couple of instants and sorcery spells that you can run, like obviously like Reanimate, Entomb gets really good too, you know what I mean? Their, Lively Dirge also is pretty good here too. But I don't really know how worth it is, especially when you're paying 4 mana for that also, and you're doubly feeding Ristic Studies and Remoras and spell, anything that you need to draw a card, or Archivist of Ogma, Wang Shi Tong and things like that. You're doubly, drawing those triggers. It's a little bit of a big ask, especially for nowadays, for how many Grixis commanders we have access to nowadays. But in all actuality, I think this is probably a pretty good list to work with Kess in mind, in all honesty. I don't think there's really anything that you can... I mean, can you go to the enchantments real quick? I just want to check the enchantments. I want to see if Necromancy's in there.
100%. Ooh, no,
okay, so
Necromancy. Ooh, interesting. Thoughts?
Yeah, I need to add an Necromancy.
Talk to me, brother. Talk to me.
I think Necromancy needs to be added, and the access to having an instant speed Hoarding Broodlord line is possible with Necromancy. It has happened to me before, where I've been playing games in Scion where Necromancy becomes a piece of interaction. Someone selects a Ranger Captain. Okay, well, the Ranger Captain's in the graveyard. The activation is on the stack. In response to your activation, I'm going to use Necromancy to target your Ranger Captain in your graveyard and then sack it on your turn. Right, so nobody gets to cast non-creature spells. You know what I mean? So there are situations where it can be used as interaction to get key pieces out of people's graveyard, key pieces out of your graveyard. And I think that's incredibly powerful. And the fact that you're running both of the 2-drop enchantments and not the instant speed enchantment that allows you to reanimate at instant speed is really puzzling, at least to me, right? Because I think I'd rather run the instant speed one over either of them, honestly. You know what I mean? Like, that extra mana, it does suck and it does go away at your instep, but the card you're reanimating is supposed to directly win you the game, right? So like, you're not really going to care about it staying around. You know what I mean? That's not really the process that we're trying to facilitate here. You know what I mean?
If I could add something in really quick, I agree with you 1,000,000,000%. And in addition, I think a mistake many players make in having their holding brew list is they'll prioritize Dance of the Dead over Necromancy. For all the reasons you brought up, you lose the instant speed, it's the interaction. You know, I'm positive you're going to bring up like the LED synergies with, you know, cracking the hand, holding priority, all the other stuff. But the critical thing people miss is that because Dance of the Dead has the creature enter the battlefield tapped, where is that word at? Yeah, there we go. Put enchanted creature onto the battlefield tapped under your control. If your intention is not World Gorger Dragon and your intention is a Hoarding Brute Lord, you are paying the exact same amount but losing the Convoke for your Saw in Half afterwards. And you have to find black mana, because say if you have an Ancient Tomb left over, at least you could tap the Hoarding Brute Lord to pay for black and then tap the Ancient Tomb or City of Traders, whatever not. With this, now you got to find your black mana plus 2 colorless. So if I were to just throw this in, that seems like a really one for one switch. I agree 100% with the doc. Not to mention, he's going to keep talking about, but Necromancy just has so many benefits that I would personally say just throw the Dance of the Dead, make a little tear. Oh no, my card got ripped. I have to put in Necromancy now. And so that's my little 2 cents to that. But go ahead, brother.
I think that's a good 1-for-1 trade, 100%. And then if you can go to the instance too, I want to see if they have Shallow Grave in here. I think that's Shallow Grave there. So I think Shallow Grave is actually incredibly powerful here, because going off of Kess allows you to cast instants and sorcery spells an additional time on your turn, right? So if you go through your combo and somebody tries to attempt to stop your combo, if you've gotten to the point, now this is a big if, but if you've gotten to the point where the Hoarding Brood Lord, where you're using Burnt Offering, right, and you sacrifice the Hoarding Brood Lord, and the Hoarding Brood Lord's in your graveyard, right, and they want to stop you before you make this mana because they think that you're choked on. They think that you're choked on mana. You might have like a couple pips up, you might have like 2 mana up. Well, hey, Kess is already out. I have Hoarding Brood Lord at the top of my graveyard. Let's just cast Shallow Grave again from the graveyard, right? You cast it again, you get another tutor. You can go for your Force of Will or your Force Negation or Pact Negation or anything on your turn. Cast that again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Shallow Grave, to me also, and that's why I think Necromancy still, like Necromancy and Shallow Grave, hold kind of the same spot, but different aspects, as they can both be used for interaction in some cases. Shallow Grave, a little bit more of a rare case than most, but there have been situations where somebody has, I think there was a situation where I was going for an instant speed win off of like having a Smothering Tithe and a Rhystic Study out for a very long time, and I had to endurance my own graveyard, and I was attempting to go for a win, and I went for like, I was able to cast, like I had a Born Upon a Wind active, and I was able to cast a Hoarding Broodlord from my hand at instant speed, and the ETB trigger on the stack, they went to stifle it. I was like, damn, that sucks. Because I have this Burn Offering in hand. I cast the Burn Offering, sacrificing my Hoarding Broodlord, and I brought it back with Shallow Grave. You know what I mean? There are situations, it's very rare, but it can happen when this is your game plan, right? When this is your game plan, like there can be situations where, hey, like I want this creature to come out, or hey, you're already on Entomb, you Entomb, put this Hexing Squelcher into your graveyard. I have a Shallow Grave. I cast Shallow Grave to put Hexing Squelcher into the grave or onto the battlefield. All of the spells that I have on the stack right now are now uncounterable, right? Like there are situations to where Shallow Grave can be protection and interaction for you, right? Now, like I said, it won't happen all the time, but it is an out that you can look out for. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
Going on a little bit further from that, if you could scroll up a little bit more.
I got you, brother.
Yeah. Other than that, already on the Adnos, I did see that, and the Necropotence. So you're on both of those game plans too. I think solid enough. I think we have both already confirmed that like we run Hoarding Broodlord and Adnos in our deck. I think it's a little bit it's a little bit weirder in the deck like this where you can't get it off of your commander, but I think it's still reasonable enough. I think, for the most part, Dahada decks run Hoarding Broodlord and Bolas Citadel and Adnos, you know what I mean? So like I think it's completely and utterly fine. I think that makes sense.
Yeah. People be scared, man. They scared.
Yeah, and if I may say, people who like there is a number that you have to get to, right, before you're like, okay, Ad Nauseam doesn't really make sense in this deck.
Right.
Ad Nauseam is not Demonic Consultation. You don't name, hey, I'm gonna go for this card and I'm gonna lose all the life leading up to this card. It's not that
crazy,
right? You can control when you stop.
Yeah.
If you know you have a Hoarding Broodlord still in your 99 and you're at 7 health, it's probably a good time to stop, right? But if your Hoarding Broodlord is already in your graveyard, your other 2 4-drops are already in your hand, you know what I mean? All you have are 4-drops and 3-drops in your hand right now, and you cast your Adnos, you can go a little bit deeper. You haven't seen any 0-drops, you haven't seen any of your free mana rocks, go a little bit deeper. You know what I mean? You can stop at any point in time, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And 6 cards at instant speed is better than no cards at instant speed. You know what I mean? Like,
it's cards. It's
yeah, it's cards. Like those are 6 cards that you would have had to draw over the next couple of turns, right? And now you don't have to worry about that. So the power of Ad Nauseam is literally in the palm of your hand, right? You can stop whenever you please. So I think it's still worth it. You know what I mean? I think it's completely fine. I think it is, truly.
Yeah.
Now, what I'm starting to see also in this deck too is that for Faithless Looting and Brain Freeze, you're on a couple of what do they call it? Cheerios? Not Cheerios. They call it
loot or loot effects.
Loot effects. Yeah, loot effects. I don't really think that's really necessary. I think that's just asking to give people more extra cards, off of their Remoras and stuff like that. I don't really necessarily think we need to do that. And just because Kess gives you access to casting those spells an additional time doesn't mean you necessarily need to take that option. I think I like the idea of that my tutors and my rituals are really the only thing I care about casting an additional time, not really getting more cards off of what I'm drawing, off of these loot effects, right? I think that's a little bit more powerful.
If I could ask, I agree with you. So, what would you recommend? You've acknowledged, this is cool because it's not just you get to discard Hoarding Broodlord, but you also get to recast with Kess. But what would you recommend maybe in its place if we're gonna take out these loot effects? What effects would you recommend instead, knowing that we're still maybe on a Hoarding Broodlord list?
Interaction.
All right.
So like we mentioned before, like we mentioned in the beginning, one of the issues that they were talking about is that they had trouble interacting. If you put more interaction in the deck, then instead of activating the loot effects an additional time to get more cards to search for more interaction, you just have more interaction in your graveyard to be used. Right? So I think that's probably something that probably should be considered for the most part. I don't think the looting effects have really been that popular since like 2016, like early cEDH, like back when I first started, right? Like there's no need to do that anymore because we've got Rhystic Study. The format is slow enough. We've got Remora. We've got these draw engines. You know what I mean? The format is slow enough that we don't need to rely on individual cards in our deck to draw us 1 to 2 extra cards. You know what I mean? That we don't need to do that. That's either in the command zone or we're casting Rhystic Study. It's one of the two.
I agree.
So I think we can take those parts out for sure.
If I can even add on to that, because the one thing I can hear someone saying to me in response to that is like, but D, like I hear you, Doc, but like what if I draw my Hoarding Broodlord? And what TTC would say to that is, okay, you drew your Hoarding Broodlord. Is Hoarding Broodlord your win con, or do you win with Thassa's Oracle and Underworld Breach? Thassa's Oracle and Underworld Breach. So then Hoarding Broodlord just expedites the process. It's a Grixis version of Intuition because you don't have available to use Savine's Reclamation for those types of cards. understand that you're still playing Rhystic Study and Mystic Remora and Necroport. Oh my gosh, they're not on Rhystic Study. I take that back. I would love your opinion on that in a second. But understand outside of that, understand you're still running some of the most powerful draw engine effects, the most powerful tutors. Hoarding Broodlord is just a tutor chain enabler. It's not really needed. Not to mention with the extra slots that you gain from taking out Frenetic Search and your Careful Study and Faithful Looting, you have room for more interaction and also more ramp if you wanted. I'm sure you're already running the big rituals like the Dark Culling, Cabal, and all that stuff, but maybe there's you're already on Rain of Filth too, but maybe you have room for maybe another ritual or something along the line in addition to the interaction. But before you get on the thing you were about to say, I see there's not a Rhystic Study. You want to wait on that one? I'll leave that up to you, Doc.
Yeah, so I think there might be two reasons as to why they're not on Rhystic Study.
Okay.
One, they strictly just are like, Rhystic Study's ruining the format. I don't want to play with Rhystic Study, which is, I was going to say is valid, but it's not. It's not valid. It's not valid at all. It is the most powerful card in our format right now. You should 100% be on it, right?
Until they ban
Second
it.
option is they just forgot it. You know what I mean? Which is
fair.
weird because that's the first card I put in all my decks for sure.
Type. I agree.
So I just think find a slot for Rhystic Study. And going back to the looting stuff too, I think probably that's the reason why they're on those loot effects, to be able to discard their Hoarding Broodlord when it comes in the hand. What was the instant one that untaps 2 lands too? I think that
Frantic Search.
Yeah, Frantic Search. Frantic Search, I think, is playable most certainly, as it allows you, because it only costs 1 mana, because it allows you to untap 2 lands.
3 lands. Shit! When did this? I thought
lands?
there was 2. You're right.
I thought it was 2. Yeah. So it's basically pretty free.
Yeah.
So I think that one is playable. But like Faithless Looting, Brain Freeze, I don't think we need to see those ones. Worrying about discarding your Hoarding Broodlord, I don't think we need to care that much about that, right? I don't think we need to care that much about it because it's not, like you said, it's not the way we win the game, it's the way we tutor to win the game, right? It is an aspect of the deck, not the way we win the deck, or the way we win in the deck. So drawing it is just like, damn, that sucks. Okay, I gotta move on then. You know what I mean? I gotta discard it. I got it's in my hand. I have 8 cards in hand, hopefully. You know what I mean? And then I move to my end step. I discard it. You know what I mean? After I take a look at whoever I'm playing against and make sure that they do not have reanimated in the 99. You know what I mean? But after that point,
wait. That reminds me of something. Wait, why do you read that? I joke. We had a game recently, in person, and I'm playing my Signless. Detro was playing Kefka. And I discard my Hoarding Broodlord because I got a Necromancy in hand. I'm a big brain player. I'm going to get it later. Lo and behold, Detro comes with that reanimation. Yeah, hand me that Hoarding Broodlord.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm going to try this out real quick. So
go ahead, brother.
But yeah, I don't think we need to worry about drawing the Hoarding Broodlord. We're also on a bunch of rituals. We're on Rain of Filth. You know what I mean? So there is a world where you can just cast it, and it does have Invoke, for the weird case that you might have enough creatures out, which I doubt you will, but there's always a chance. You know what I mean? But yeah, outside of that, I think everything else in this list is pretty much normal Grixis Reanimator stuff. I think it's pretty normal, cut and dry, simple, easy to understand, easy to digest. We've said our piece. Definitely add Rhystic Study, take out the loot effects, you know what I mean? And pretty much that's it if you want to continue playing Kess, right?
Yeah.
Now, to go to the build path of what I think you should do. Now, I just want to say we went through the path of like, hey, Kess is the deck that I want to play. Like, Kess was the first commander I ever built. You know what I mean? Like, I got a special place in my heart for Kess. And Hoarding Broodlord, I got a tattoo of Hoarding Broodlord on my back. I love these cards. I'm not changing it, right? But let me convince you of Anala instead, right? Same colors, and now very recently, like within the past year or so, right, has switched over to running the Hoarding Broodlord line, right? So it's the same colors. It is a commander where you don't have to cast the commander. We don't care about casting this commander. We care about that imminence ability. something that never should have been created. We love that imminence ability. All right. Any wizard that we have enter the battlefield, we can pay an additional mana to create a copy of it. That is fucking powerful. It is a 1-card win con with any wizard that allows you to search your library for an instant or sorcery spell. Okay. Yeah. That is powerful. Spellseeker alone, that is powerful. You go through the whole chain. I'm not going to go through it. I don't know it. But the Inala players do. The primers, they spell it out for you. So if this is something you want to do, try that out. The reason why I'm saying Inala is probably a better commander to play for this theme specifically is because, like I said, they're also running Hoarding Broodlord lines, right? But then you also have not just one tutor chain creature that you can reanimate. You get access to 3 total. Hoarding Broodlord, Spellseeker. I think Scholar of Ages is the other one, the third one. You get access to 3 individual creatures that if you reanimate, you're able to win the game off of them, right? I mean, what is a reanimator deck if not that? You know what I mean? Like, that's incredibly powerful. That's incredibly powerful. So, and also too, something that I've looked at for a very long time, you know, when building my own Scion list or building my Hoarding Broodlord list in general, is the Inala list that you have in your primer, TTC for Tiamat.
Yes.
For Tiamat. The Inala list that you have in your primer for Tiamat, that explains a instant speed win line with Invoke Calamity that you've used before. You know what I mean? And using something like Invoke Calamity, which is also an it's a sorcery. It's a sorcery. So if you want to do the Inala, not Inala, if you want to do the
Hoarding Broodlord.
Hoarding. I'm not thinking Hoarding Broodlord. I'm thinking of Kess. If you want to do the Kess thing, and you want to cast, you know, Invoke Calamity 2 times. You exile. Never mind. It doesn't work. It's irrelevant.
What?
But
I mean, but
you can cast it from your graveyard for once.
Dude,
you can cast it your graveyard from one time. Though.
You're still cooking though, because can I just throw this in there? I don't want to stop your flow. You still flowing, brother?
Go ahead.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
I think you cook it. I didn't even think about that. You already recommended Necromancy. They're already on Burnt Offering, correct? They're already on Burnt Offering.
Yeah.
He can assemble the full Thassa's Oracle line at instant speed, even if he doesn't want to go Inala. I think you're cooking with the Inala. I want to continue to hear that. But all you need is the Burnt Offering, the Invoke Calamity. You need Shallow Grave and Necromancy available to you, which if you add in both of those, instant speed. And then at that point, you need either Demonic Consultation or Tainted Pact and Thassa's Oracle. This whole, and of course your Entomb effect that you used to put into the Hoarding Broodlord into the graveyard. You can do this whole combo at instant speed. And for 5, it's for only 5 mana with Entomb plus Shallow Grave, the 2 Convoke with that. And 6 if you're doing Necromancy, but keep going. You cooking, my guy. Like that. I didn't think about it. Go Invoke Calamity.
And especially too, going back to Kess too, right? If you are running, I think Kess becomes a little bit better too when you have Kess out and Necro Potence, because then that means that any of the instants or sorcery spells that you are using to assemble the instant speed combo at your instep, you are able to do it again, because it does not say that you can cast these instants or sorcery spells. They have their timing restrictions, as you know, their regular timing restrictions, right?
Right.
Cast sorceries during, you know, your main phase, and cast instants at any point in time. So they counter a spell, you can be like, okay, I'll cast it again from my graveyard. I'm
just going to keep hyping you up on this Invoke Calamity tech. If you all are not familiar, Invoke Calamity is a really sick tech that I use for my Tiamat list, not on my Scion list. The point is that it opens up additional instant speed lines for just the general mid-range game, as well as for your Necropotence lines. So being able to use Shallow Grave or Necromancy just to bring back a Thassa's with a Tainted Pact already in hand, or you go to get your Hoarding Broodlord, like I brought up, as long as you have some type of Entomb effect, whether it be Lively Dirge, Unmarked Grave, or Entomb, you can present this instant speed combo where you go Burnt Offering into Invoke Calamity, recast the Saw in Half on the Hoarding Broodlord, plus recast your Entomb effect to put your Thassa's Oracle in the graveyard. Then you recast the Saw in Half to go get the Necromancy or Shallow Grave and your Demonic Consultation or Tainted Pact, and then you just use the Convoke plus the last floating mana to get there with your combo. You just brought up Kess plus Necropotence and doing instance and sorcery based things. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, Necromancy is, or not Necromancy, Necropotent is really built around the enablers that are instance and sorcery spells. So Born Upon the Wind, Final Fortune, Last Chance, even in some ROG side lists, they're playing Last Chance, sorcery speed, extra turn effects, and stuff like that. So to be able to play a commander that builds off of that very well, to be like, okay, every Born Upon the Wind, Final Fortune, Last Chance is I get to cast an additional time for my turn. That means people need to have 2 pieces of interaction plus whatever interaction I have also too, right? So that is a point in Kess's favor for the most part. But I still don't think that is quite enough compared to what Inala offers us in the command zone, being able to turn 1 reanimator effect being able to win us the game to 3 reanimator effects being able to win us the game, right? And one of them being dirt cheap to cast, right? You're talking about 4 mana potentially be able to win the game is crazy, right? Like off of that, that's insane. Like I said, I do not know the line. I don't know the combo. I'm not going to explain it. Go out there, find a primer. Someone's done it before, right? So, and I think that's incredibly like powerful. I think that's super powerful. You know, having all of these types of reanimation effects that allow you to win the game is exceptionally powerful. Running Invoke Calamity is exceptionally powerful. You're already going to be on. Maybe you won't be on Ad Nauseam. I think some Inala lists are still running Ad Nauseam even with the other Spellseeker effect that's like 7 mana. I think they're still running it. But if you want to run a mid-rangier version, you can do that. Grixis is the core identity of a lot of cEDH decks to begin with nowadays, right? So it definitely can be done if you add Rhystic Study for sure, right? I think Inala is a better deck overall to be running this type of play style, 100%.
Yeah. One thing, question that or even pushback I can see come from the audience is, well, Detro, but doesn't Kess still have the 1-card combos with Demonic Consultation and Tainted Pack, so where you can cast it once, go get your Thassus and recast it from your graveyard with Kess? Like, what if what would you say is the big benefit for the Inala 1-card combos enabled? In addition to reanimator packages, both have them, but what's the benefit for the Inala versus the Kess in your opinion, for your experience?
You don't got to cast Inala to win.
That's all.
You just got to cast Spellseeker. For Kess, you got to cast Kess. 3 individual different pips, 1 colorless, and then you got to cast Demonic Consultation, and then you got to cast it twice, and then you got to cast a Thassus Oracle. It's that, you know what I mean? Like, Inala has eminence from the command zone. We don't have to run any commander-centric spells. We just have to have her in the command zone. That's literally it. That's it. You know what I mean? And that is insanely powerful. That is insanely powerful alone. Kess is powerful. Yes, 100%. It can work. It is viable. It's Grixis, right? It can work. But Inala does it a little bit better and fuels the reanimator package that you're already running in your deck too, right? Like it already fills it up even more. You know what I mean? So it's incredible. I can't get enough of it. Also, too, just the thought of like having enough mana to cast a Spellseeker, attempt to go for a win, somebody try to stop you, and then cast a Saw in half in response, targeting your Spellseeker. Like to get some interaction is kind of crazy. And then choose whether or not if you have enough mana. I mean, that's a lot of mana to invest, but if it's at that point in time in the game, you completely can pay another additional 2 mana to make 2 more copies of Spellseeker to get 2 more pieces of potential interaction, 100%. Or just win over top, one or the other. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And did you say he was thinking about doing mid range as well, or was that your suggestion? If I can even add, go ahead.
Well, yeah. So there was on the weaknesses tab that he was doing, there was a discussion on whether or not to turn this Kess list into a little bit more of a mid range list, or to just say screw it and just play Rock Side. I think if you were to go down the path for Inala, I think there are versions of Inala that are running a little bit more of a mid-range package. It definitely is viable. Like I said, it's Grixis. It can work 100%, especially when you have cleaner lines like with Spellseeker. It can work 100%. You know what I mean?
I was going to even add on top of that, the beautiful thing about Inala with a Reanimator package, I've been loving Reanimator and cEDH. Boggles my mind why we don't see more of it, but little bit by little bit, people will catch up. But one thing that I love about Reanimator is that it is enabled by Valley Flood Caller, Born Upon the Wind. It just enables your mid-range game, because you can sit behind these draw engines and you can just be patient. And the worst thing that can happen is, I drew the combo piece a little bit early. That's okay. We can still be patient, discard them as we get our hand sizes up, and present those mid-range combos at instant speed on top of our opponents. That is definitely just a plus to it. I do think that your recommendation of Anala is honestly genius, because having both options, like in the worst universe, I'm gonna shout out to him, Jim Fusion. He's in our level up community as well, and just in the open TC community as well. Having the option to say, hey, at the end of the day, why not just have both? You can have that Kess brew where you love it, you have a lot of fun with it, it's exactly what you want to do. It's everything you've been dreaming about. You love Kess, and as D-Trump said, you have that like, I got a tattoo. I love Kess, and I got a tattoo Horny Brew Lord on my back. That was hilarious. But then say if you want to maybe take in a league like the Crit League, or if you want to do a tournament, you're getting frustrated and you don't want to change your home brew. You can always have an alternate brew. It may be more meta, but it still allowed you to play the way you want to play and have the cards you like, but maybe in a more streamlined, condensed, like how D-Trey brought up, in a less mana, because you don't need to cast your commander all the way. Like, honestly, I've never seen an Anala cast for years. I've been playing cEDH for years, never seen this commander cast, not even for value. So being able to do all that is phenomenal.
Yeah, those are some of the main points. You know what I mean? I think this is another case where somebody is having a little bit of a problem with a deck, and it can easily be solved with switching to a new commander. But sometimes people are in love with what the commander is doing already, right? And you have to understand what your weaknesses are in order to better suit your strengths, right? Yeah. And if you are completely and utterly okay with, playing Kess as a commander to take advantage of the instants and sorcery spells you have in your 99, that is completely and utterly valid. You know what I mean? Like, that makes sense. 4-mana commanders are not anything new to cEDH, you know what I mean? And it can definitely happen. It can definitely work. You know what I mean? I just think that if the reanimation package can become even better when you have access to 2 more creatures, when you have access to a commander that makes a copy of two of your reanimation targets, it just becomes that much better, right? 100%. More well-rounded.
I resonate and I agree.
Please add Rhystic. Please.
Please add Rhystic. And I wanted to ask your opinion. There's another card that I personally love, and I know that the meta is kind of split on this, but I see right now, I love Blood Pet. I really do. And I don't, maybe not take out Blood Pet, but I was interested on D-Trove's opinion on Ragavan in this list.
To be honest, I mean, you have more experience with Ragavan being a little bit more of a flexible card. I can't really speak to that experience as much, but Ragavan is just like a red mana dork to me. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, sometimes it might get you the card that you need from the top of somebody else's library. That's cool, but it's a mana dork. And in the direct comparison, I think, to Blood Pet, like 1-for-1 trade, Blood Pet is always going to be online to make an additional mana for you. Ragavan, in some cases, is only going to be available to make mana for you for the first 1 or 2 turns that it's out, right? After that point, it's going to die to some blocker, you know what I mean? So there is an argument against it, but you could also just run both, since you're running a lot of loot effects, you know what I mean? Like, it's very possible you could just put both in there, you know? Not many people are playing Blood Pet, but it is just a mana dork, 1-turn mana dork, bank a mana for later, that's really all you're doing. Yeah. While Ragavan actually makes you additional mana as you attack with him, but you have to wait an entire turn, you know what I mean? So.
No, 100%. And I want to acknowledge that I love Panic's inclusion of Blood Pet, because a lot of people don't think about this, but especially if you're trying to get out of turn 2 Necro, being able to go Underground Sea, Blood Pet, turn 2, fetch for Badlands, play your Necro. There's a turn 2 Necro. It just gives you another computation to be able to get that Necro out. And since we don't have green, that's not an option. We can get it this way. To add, though, to your points, you're 100% right. I am very bullish on Ragavan, because the more I play with it, especially with the inclusion of Ad Nauseam, and the more I play Necro, like when you have those explosive amount of cards, or even in those games where you want to change not your 99 but your play style, Ragavan becomes extremely flexible. I found that I love it as a 1-mana dork. It is a 2-mana rock. I literally have lost games because I did not see Ragavan as a, hey, I can I'm in my first main phase, I can dash it, color fix myself, and then come around in my second main phase and get things going. You can also use it as top deck hate. We still see Imperial Seal very much in our format. There's times where people will, I've had this where people will cast the main phase instant speed tutor like a Vamper and line tutor because they want to maybe not discard it to hand size. Hey, I have my 8 cards, so let's just go and cast this top deck tutor now. Not very common, but it's a play pattern that you may see here and there. There's a lot of reasons where that top deck hate is really crucial. Not to mention the biggest thing is you're not on flare, but there are some people who play like the flare effects that helps. You're not on that, so you don't have to worry about that. But like for me, though, I'm not gonna, like, I do acknowledge, I agree with D-Trove. There's gonna be some games where Dragonman is not doing a lot. I will say if you're a political player, those games become fewer and far between, because I use the example of like when I'm goldfishing in a game. What I like to do is, like, say if I play Ragavan turn 1 of my goldfish, go to turn 2, I roll a D4 and I'd be like, all right, 1 means no one has a blocker, 2 means one person has a blocker, and so all the way to 4 where everyone has 1 blocker. But I don't stop there. I roll another D4 and I'm like, who's not willing to trade with me? Cause yeah, like, okay, you got a blocker, but what if, like, in real games, what if that blocker's a rock? You know what I'm saying? Are they going to trade? Maybe, but are they? What if that one blocker's a 1-mana dork? What if that one blocker's a Kinnan? Are they going to trade with the Kinnan? And that's where the dynamic of the card really expands. Where is it a cEDH staple? I'm not going to argue that hill. But is it a powerful card that if you know how to use your tongue, if you know how to kind of analyze and say, and just even the soft thing is saying, like, you're like not being mean with it, but like, I don't think this person's gonna, I don't think you're gonna block, bro. I'm gonna offer the trade. Just throwing it out there and being like, they're like, you know what? He's really throwing this into my creature. Do I want to deny them the treasure? And I'm not a heavy combo synergy or like a high density synergy deck. I don't really care about losing 1 card. Let it slide. Or some people I do know who say, nope, I don't want you to have that, man. I'm going to offer the trade. But then you, at this point, you've taken a creature that was 100% dead because everyone had a blocker, and you took away an opponent's resource. You know what I'm saying? You already weren't going to get any more value off that Ragavan. You're not running a flare. So then it's kind of like, at least I took away the creature. Maybe they're a rock deck, a rock something deck, and they need it for sack fodder or they need it for a guy's creative synergy. Like, benefits just go through the roof. So that's why I'm always going to praise Ragavan. But I can't sit here and say it's a staple because it's too many options in our meta right now to truthfully say that's a staple in our format. But keep going. We got anything else to add on for our Kess Dissonant Mage, or is there any other points you would love to bring up about the Anala possible switch out?
No, I don't. I've seen that there are, like, the mid-ranger versions. There are versions that are playing like Thundertrap Trainer. I love Thundertrap Trainer. I want to play Thundertrap Trainer so badly in all of my decks. I cannot, though, because it is useless. But or not, I won't say it's useless. It's useless for the type of deck that I'm playing. Yeah. Right. But in here, it's a wizard. You can pay 3 mana, and you get to look at the top fucking 8 cards of your deck. There you go. That's a loot effect. That's pretty cool. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. I like that one. You know what I mean?
100%.
But other than that, man, I don't have anything else. I think Anala is a great trade to work with. And then outside of that, we've already said a couple of things that you could trade or switch out in the list that also work to help make the list a little bit better. I think it's completely and utterly up to what they want to do for their own list. But, you know, I think it's fine.
100%. Thank you, Doc, so much for our awesome second deck review. And before we get to our final deck review, I want to give one last shout out, and that's to you all, the TC community. For all you all on YouTube who are not part of the community but are looking for a brewing focused place that also has a level up focused community, check out the TC community. First link in the bio. But y'all be great. I'm looking forward to jamming games with y'all and leveling up with you all. But let's get it. Oh, and also make sure you get the @TC events role. If you're loving this Deck Doctors event and you want to be a part of it, or you want to just be a spectator, make sure you get the @TC event role so you can get the regular notifications on the next Deck Doctors 5 is coming. But let's get back to it. All right, our last deck we are going to be talking about Deck Dr. D is Selvala, Heart of the Wilds. Colorless green legendary creature, Elf Scout, 2/3. Whenever another creature enters, a controller may draw a card if its power is greater than each other creature's power. So it's a symmetrical effect. But what we really like is that activated ability of green tap. Add X mana in any combination of colors where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. Wish that said on the board. That would be kind of hot, but I think that may be too broken.
Yeah.
But, go ahead, D.
Yeah, so this is well, when I first saw it, it brought me back to the days where I used to see this list, and it was kind of more of like a stacks list. It would play a couple of stacks pieces, obviously, because it's in mono green, and it has trouble keeping up with a lot of the value engines that every other color has access to, right? But from my understanding from right now, as I've looked at a lot of lists recently, it's actually more of a storm deck now, which is very surprising. It prides itself on making a bunch of mana off of Selvala triggers, comboing off with Ashaya and Kyrian Ranger, comboing off with Teamer Sabertooth, Eternal Witness, a whole litany of different creatures that all combo and work together in their own way. I think I think it's interesting. I don't know how relevant in the format it is. I think it is an interesting brew. I think it is a brew that people can see coming, but it is still hard to interact with, right? Because it is all creatures. I think when you see mono green, usually you're like, oh, it's probably a creature combo deck of some type. You know what I mean? But it's still incredibly hard to interact with, right? Because it's all creatures. There's only Pact of Negation, Mind Break Trap, Force of Will, Mana Drain, maybe, are really the only real creature counter spells that people are running, and Mana Drain is not really played really all that much. You know what I mean? So I think it's interesting. I think it attacks the format in a very unique aspect, and I think it can definitely get a lot of wins, especially if you get the important creatures that cost literally nothing to play, but have 12 toughness, 8 toughness, and you already have Selvala out from turn 2. You know what I mean? It's very relevant. You're making 12 mana on turn 2. Damn, that's a lot.
Yeah,
that's a lot. Oh yeah, Phyrexian Dreadnought is the big one. 1 mana, 12/12, and you can respond to its ETB activation too, or its ETB trigger to make your 12 mana. That's incredible. Yeah, incredible, and it's hard to deny that, and you get to draw a card from it too. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know any Tivit is the biggest creature I see in cEDH nowadays. You know what I mean? Hoarding Broodlord maybe, but still, that's not 12 power. You know what I mean?
Right.
So they're the ones who submitted the list, and what some of the issues and some of the weaknesses that they had in the list were early fragile hands, and the fact that it is hard to interact with, or not the fact that it's harder, but to prevent them from winning the game, all it takes is interaction, right? And I wanted to pick this apart a little bit, because while these are weaknesses of being in only a single color, and that color being green, right? I think these are weaknesses that are basically the embodiment of being in mono green, right? And being the type of deck that you're trying to play. I think it is extraordinarily difficult to keep a very consistently good hand when it comes to playing in mono green, right? It is very difficult, but the fact that you are producing so much mana means that basically the curve of mana that you're able to cast spells at becomes that much higher. You know what I mean? 3 drops are usually about the range that we're really willing to work with when it comes to spells that we're casting, right? If it's 4 and up, it's really got to make a very, very significant impact in our game, right? If it's that 4 to 5 range. But for Selvala, 4 to 5 might be the baseline normal, right? 6 to 7 might be, okay, we can make it work, but it has to be something substantially powerful in the deck, right?
Yeah.
So I think that is also very interesting too. And, going back to some of the weaknesses, if you are being interacted with, you know what I mean, on the stack, it's very hard, right? There's only 3 counterspells in the format that are actively being played by every blue deck. And that means each person has to also have access to those spells too, because you have interaction too. It might not be the best, but you do have access to it, right? So creature combos are hard to interact with, okay? The fragile hand thing, you are a storm deck. It is a storm turbo deck.
Yeah.
You are trying to have a giant creature in your hand that you're trying to cast for considerably easy, so that you can activate Selvala. It's an ebb and flow type of thing, right?
Yeah.
You lose more colors, but you gain access to more specific cards that are good for your color or for your commander deck, right? You add more colors, you gain access to the best colors in cEDH, or the best cards in cEDH, but it becomes harder to find that unique play style, right?
Yeah.
So it's a constant ebb and flow type of pool, and you've entered the entire like left side of the gradient scale, where you're all the way at one color, right? So you have the freedom to pretty much put whatever you want in your deck, right? And it can work because you have the mana to back it up, right? But it's just that you lose out on the interaction, you lose out on the control pieces, the easy draw pieces, the tutor ability, you know what I mean? You lose out on all of those aspects. So when it goes back to those weaknesses, I think those are just things that you just have to realize are the case, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is my bed, I'm gonna lie in it, I'm gonna make you have it. You know what I mean? Like, that's
I will make you
know?
have it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, 100%.
Some other things. Collector Oof is in the deck, and I wanted to talk a little bit about that. When it comes to Collector Oof, right? For a colorless and a green creature Oof, activated abilities of artifacts can't be activated. It is a 2/2, right? This is a classic cEDH stacks staple, right? If you don't have access to blue, you might be playing this card, right? You know, back maybe 4 or 5 years ago, maybe.
Yeah.
Right. Not many people play this card really all that much anymore. I understand why this card is in this deck, right? It is very, very hard to keep up with somebody who has access to heuristic study and ad nauseum colors. It is very difficult. I understand that. But this card shuts off everybody, right? And there is going to be one player, usually, who can operate around the Collector Oof, right? People are playing Cabbage Merchant right now, which gets around Collector Oof, right? People are playing Mana Dorks. Sisay is still a very prominent and powerful card. It is playing Mana Dorks, you know what I mean? There are going to be some cases where Collector Oof is not going to be the card to play. But that is my argument against it. My argument for it is that you don't really have many good options in mono green to begin with, right? You're already on Manglehorn, which is in the 99 of this deck too, right? Already on Manglehorn. That makes artifacts enter tapped, which is probably as good as we can get, right? But you're already on that. What other way are you going to be able to keep up with people, other than stopping them from their mana production, right? It's very difficult. So I just wanted to talk about this. I don't think it is a card that we need to cut from this list. I think it is a card that we need to keep an eye out for to determine whether or not it is a card worth keeping in the list, especially when 2 artifacts in your deck are combo pieces also that you need to be able to activate. I don't know if I like that type of idea. Yeah, the Staff of Domination and the Umbral Mantle. Those are both artifacts that you need to be able to activate with Collector Oof. So unless you're able to get rid of your own Collector Oof very, very easily, I don't know if that's necessarily the case, but it's hard to take away a piece that you kind of actually need in order to be able to hang with everybody else in the game. But yeah, it's a card to look out for. So whenever you're playing it, keep an eye out for if it's preventing you from being able to win the game when you'd like to. And also if it is enabling somebody else to take advantage of it. That's what I worry about. For the most part, like I said before too, we're in low colors. We get to run whatever we want to. You know what I mean? Like the world is our oyster when it comes to low color identity, right?
Yeah.
And to be honest, for the most part, I believe Kemetra's Acolyte, which is the creature that we're running, I believe is a semi commander, but in the 99.
Ketra Acolyte, that's a K, right?
Yeah, they might have taken it out. I know they just edited the list.
No, it's gone. Or at least I can't see it.
Okay. Yeah. Kemetra's Acolyte was a card that was in the 99 at the time. That was in the list beforehand, and I believe it was like a kind of like backup commander, just in case can't cast a commander or whatever. Frankly, at that point in time that the list had this at the time, don't think it was necessary. Right? I do not think it was necessary in the slightest. you are making enough mana to be able to cast your commander again, right?
Yeah.
I believe so. So I don't think it's necessarily really that much of an issue for us, especially for the sense that Commander's Acolyte only makes mana equal to the devotion to your color identity of green, and not to the power and toughness of your creatures, right? So it's a little bit worse in that aspect also.
Gotcha.
And as a replacement effect, I would honestly probably maybe even think about running like Lightning Greaves in the deck for turns where you're able to produce a lot of mana, and you're able to, maybe your commander died last turn, but you're able to make a bunch of mana this turn. Maybe your Gaia's Cradle is turned on or something like that. Having access to a way to make your creatures other than not Crucible. What's the enchantment that gives all creatures haste? The World Enchantment. They're running it.
Are they running that one? It's the Concordant Crossroads.
Concordant Crossroads.
Yes, that's it. Concordant Crossroads.
Yeah, that is. So other than Concordant Crossroads, I would love to give haste to my most important creatures without giving everybody access to haste. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think Lightning Greaves could also be something worth considering. That is still, again, a little bit of a nombo with your Collector Roof in the deck. So if you're still running Collector Roof, I think you hold off on running Lightning Greaves, but that is an option that I think is, worth thinking about at least. Yeah, I saw that there was not the card that Rog Thrash just got that blew him out of the water that allows you to search for a creature. Formidable Speaker. I saw that there was not a Formidable Speaker in this list earlier. I see that it's in there now. Good switch, because the issue with the list is that it's hard to tutor for specific creatures. It's not hard to tutor for specific creatures. It's hard to tutor for non-creatures, right? Which Formidable Speaker still doesn't do that. But another tutor that allows you to get a creature is not bad, and allows you to untap a target permanent, which Selvala is a permanent, is also substantial too. Yeah. I love that idea. But for the most part, I think this is very akin to Tivit. It's just a kind of bit of a mindset thing. You have to like sit in the bed that you made, in the fact that, hey, this is mono green. I don't have the interaction. I do not have the ability to ritual and tutor whatever card I need to, because I'm not in green, I'm not in white, or I'm not in blue, I'm not in black, and I'm not in white, right? Those are the best colors to be in right now. You know what I mean? I don't have access to any of those colors. It's going to be incredibly hard for me to get to that point, right? So, but I think there's also a strength in that. You know what I mean? Because I'm not going to lie, I'll make a dig at myself, right? If I see a Selvala player at my board, I'm going to be like, okay, I don't have to expect anything from that until it's their turn, right? Like, they play on the board, very, very telegraphed, very, very easy to tell, right? You take advantage of people who think like that, right?
Yes.
Take advantage. Cast your commander, don't have anything up. Turn 2 comes around, you pay 1 mana and you have a 12-drop creature. You're making 12 mana. What the hell are we even talking about right now? This is crazy. You know what I mean? Yes. I think it's insane. And I think you got to play around that and just be more familiar and more comfortable lying in that. You know what I mean? And knowing that is something that, I can take advantage of when I'm building this deck, when I'm playing this deck, I mean. But another thing too is building around Might from Harmonizer, the card right next to it to your left. Yes. Right next to it, that. This part, so an interesting thing that I was reading about when it came to a couple of primers that I've read is that the activation of Selvala, I think it cares about it on resolution, about how much mana you make. So what you can do is you can, like, any creature that like enters the battlefield and then dies immediately, like the Dreadnought, right? When that enters the battlefield, you can respond to its trigger, crack like a fetch land, double its power up to 24, and then you can activate Selvala to make 24 mana. Or if you have 2 fetch lands, you double that again and you make 48 mana, right? Because its power gets doubled each time.
Oh, that's broken.
It is.
Combo. It's
broken. It's broken, but personally, like,
okay, talk to me.
It sounds crazy and it sounds super cool to do that and to get that off the ground and running in a game, right?
Right.
And like we said, the 4 to 5 drop range is probably the new 3 drop range. You know what I mean? So
Right.
like their curve is a lot higher, but they can manage that because Selvala makes a lot more mana.
Right.
Now this is a monocolored deck, right? And Wang Shi Tong is a thing. Archivist of Ogma is a thing. I don't know how relevant running fetch lands in this deck is compared to just having flat out, you know, forests and maybe a couple of more utility lands. You know what I mean? They are on a bit of fetch. They're on a couple of fetch lands, and they're on Prismatic Vista 2, which is good. It is good. And or I think actually it's not the trigger, because you can always respond to like any trigger to activate Selvala, but it was the ETB trigger for you have the power, like the creature you have has the most power, right? I think that's the one that you can respond to, and then like make your creatures bigger, so that like if there is a bigger creature, you're making sure you're drawing a card off of it. But nevertheless, it's iffy, but I think it's, now that I'm thinking about it, because I use that Dreadnought, the Phyrexian Dreadnought as an example, like making 48 mana off of 2 fetch lands is fucking insane. It is very insane, especially if you run something like Greater Good, right? If you run something like Greater Good or Life from the Loam in your deck, holy fuck. You know, that is what dreams are made of. You know, like
brother said, yeah.
That is pretty cool. Actually, now I'm talking about it. Maybe it is worth keeping in the deck. Maybe you should keep it in the deck now that I'm thinking about it. Because if you have Life from the Loam, Greater Good, any way to there's another one. There's an instant.
No life.
I don't know.
There's no life.
Well, Life from the Loam is an instant.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
What? No.
Oh, they're all, okay. There's another one. Momentous Fall and Return of the Wild Speaker are both similar effects.
Got you.
Right?
But instant
draw a card
speed. Got you.
Power.
Understood.
Speed. That's gas.
Okay.
That's fucking incredible. That's so sick.
Yeah.
48 mana, 48 cards. I mean, what the hell? I mean, I didn't even. There's not an ad nauseum. I wish. I wish ad nauseum could do that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
A lot of hoops you got to jump through, but like the payoff is incredible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in a roundabout way, I've actually kind of convinced myself maybe you should keep running it. Keep running this. Keep running this. This what is it called? Mighty Form or whatever.
Yeah.
I think probably actually it probably is pretty gas. And it's right, and it has warp too. What's the warp cost? 3?
3? It's the 3.
Yeah, never mind, man. What the hell was I talking about? Yeah, keep that shit in there. Yeah.
It's all good. If I could add on to what you said, because you brought up 2 really interesting concepts here, I'll go quick. The warp cost is a really huge thing to keep in mind, because 2 colors in the green is much more realistic than 2 colors in 2 green. And I believe how warp works is does it go to exile or back to hand? You may cast this card, exile this card at the beginning of the next time. You may cast it from exile. So it doesn't stay away forever. I think that's cool. And so that does validate this card as in like, hey, I'm already ritualing out just a tiny bit using Selvala. I can push this out to then play a land or cast effects or however I want to navigate that. That is really, really cool, because it gives you the kind of that ritual effect without rituals. Another thing that is a big contention for monoplayer colored decks is, do you run fetch lands in your monocolored deck? Because you did bring up a very big point, Detro, which is the Wang Shi Tong, the Archivist. And though we don't see it as much, depending on the meta, you may still have opposition agents and even mind sensors in your meta that you have to play around, and that you can't ignore that. Everyone's home meta is a little bit different. Yeah. A big thing, 2 things I'll say is that I did a deck tech with the Kiki G key player who top 16 a while back, and I remember his saying was, deck thinning is deck winning. And it's a very fun statement to say. And as having played monocolor for such a long time, I definitely can say that being able to search your deck and kind of reshuffle it can kind of prevent the clumpings from happening. Because if you're never searching your library, there's times where like you can shuffle it one bad time and you never get a time to really reset your deck as much as other 4, 5+ color decks. The other thing that I will say though is realizing that unless you're like, other than the tech that we've usually been kind of convinced on, and maybe there's some other tech that we'll see as we continue to progress through the deck. Most times, and this is not a bad thing, but most times fetches in a monocolor deck is more psychological than actually strength based. Like, it's objectively a good thing. Like, the percent people have talked about percentages that it's such a minute percentage that it may not matter. So a lot of times, like, I tell people, like, they're like, do I have to run them in monocolor? I'm like, you don't have to. I do, because like, I've grown to like enjoy just to being able to, like, you know, deck thin, especially if I'm doing mono red. I may run breach that fills up the graveyard. But if you're not really caring about threshold, if you're not really caring about, you're not in breach, you're not even running the threshold land, are you? No, he's not. Like, they're not even running the threshold land either. Then it becomes less needed, and it just says, like, if I'm not worried about running up against the big four, Archivist, Wang Shi, Opposition Agent, or Ava Mind Sensor, then go ahead, throw your fetches in. But you have to remember what the doc told us, be cognizant of these cards, but because every extra card that you feed that Tivit, they may have not had the interaction for you before, but they may have it now because you fetched once, or you fetched twice, and you said, oh, I'm trying to do my game plan, I don't want to worry about them. That can kind of come to bite you in the tail a little bit, you know. And it's also the cool synergy of being able to fetch on instep to get the Dryad Arbor. I'll give it to you. That's cool. But as we keep going, go ahead, D.
Another knock against this list also is being able to finalize and win the game. In the few primers that I saw, there were a lot of ways to draw your deck, but not a lot of ways to end the game, right? And for the most part, it's either Finale of Devastation or Beast Within, which is like really, really weird. But I guess that's what we have to work with. You know what I mean? So obviously, Finale of Devastation, if you're making infinite mana, you know, you just pump it into Finale of Devastation, and then boom, you're able to swing out, win with whatever creatures you have access to because you've drawn your deck at this point in time, and just swing out and kill everybody that way because they all get trample and +X/+X.
Yeah.
So, reasonable, understandable. Plenty of decks are running that way now. There are a couple of loops in here that use things like, or that mainly use the card Beast Within, and looping like Eternal Witness or what is it? Looping Eternal Witness or looping Summoner's Pact 2, looping all of these cards together to, you know, keep drawing and then putting the Beast Within back on top of your library or into your hand and then casting it again, because Beast Within can target any permanent. It doesn't just target you know, non-land permanents. It targets any permanent, so you can destroy everybody's lands. Hey, guess what? You got Elks. You got 4 Elks. Congratulations, everybody. All right, keep it pushing, I guess. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'll keep doing this. Let's keep going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but then again, there might be a rare situation in where somebody's just like, okay, well, I can win off of this one land. You know, here we go. Like, they're rare, very rare, but you can't ever not think about that. You know what I mean? So that's my only worry too when it comes to this deck. Also, is just like finishing the game out fully. I don't know how else you really do that without Finale of Devastation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If that gets exiled, well, then you're blowing up everybody's permanents, and then they get a bunch of Elks. So then, like, I mean, you're giving them Elks. I mean, it's just like, is that really the best that we can do at this point in time? I'm not entirely sure that's something I really personally would want to do. You know what I mean? But if Finale of Devastation is the best way, then Finale of Devastation is the best way.
Yeah. Know? They did bring up in the comment section to decide that they do have tags for this list, and maybe they have a finisher common. Oh, they have English, French, and German. Very fancy. They have Italian. Oh, Japanese. Very nice. Okay. And multiple language. Oh, no, these are, wait, these are different tags.
Are there different sets of tags? Can you have multiple tags? I've never used the tag function for Moxfield.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so these are for languages. These are less. Okay. Gotcha. These are for languages, less about
the effects of the cards themselves.
The effects of the cards themselves. Okay. All right. Well, notice I thought they did bring up tags in the comment section below, so it's okay. All right. Well, that is a great question. If we do have any Selvala stands out there who say, "No, Doc, you forgot about this card that was printed in 1995, and it lets us blow up everyone's heads," Okay.
I wasn't even born then, brother. Come on now. Like,
Let us know
why
in the
are you telling me this?
Let us know in the comment section if we missed anything. But I do think that's a very fair point. Having multiple finishers, I resonate and agree with that. I'm a big 2 to 3 finishers guys myself. Even if you look at the top meta decks like Blue Farm or Rockside, they bare minimum are on Underworld Breach, Thassa's, and they usually either run Praetor's Grasping, Nomadic Betrayal as their backup line in case they lose one or both of those. So, and I'm with you there, brother. Yeah, 100%.
Now, one way to finish a game, I think, could possibly be a terrible way to do it, but it is a way to finish the game. I think it was Heartwood Storyteller is the creature I told you about a while ago. I don't think they're on it, but it's the creature that whenever a player casts instant or sorcery spell, their opponents draw a card. So I was like, what Fairy Mastermind like effect can we get in the deck? If you're really ballsy, man, and you love walking into tournaments like, I'm gonna wreck this shit and I'm gonna make this tournament my bitch, right? You can run Heartwood Storyteller and you can do the beast within loop, and you can just make everybody draw cards. Boom, 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 boom. I think it would.
Oh shit! You're right.
Yeah. It is an option.
Wait. But you know, green has sound effects. We have defense group, of course, but the Dosin, are they on Dosin?
I don't think they're on Dosin. No.
No, they gotta be on Dose. You on the Dose? No. Let me throw this to you then, Doc. How do you feel about the possible? Because I'm gonna be honest. I think that Heartwood Storyteller tech, knowing that this is something that triggers everyone's ever thing, and you get the Fairy Mastermind effect, where usually they do Fairy Mastermind plus Smothering Tithe plus some other effect, or even just using Fairy Mastermind with infinite mana, like with how Kennen does it. This Heartwood Storyteller is an awesome tech as an outlet that also lets you draw cards because you're playing creatures. So it's a draw engine that's also a finisher with Beast Within. What are your thoughts of that inclusion in your list? I know you were talking about that, but also to support it, the inclusion of Dosin, since they can loop Summoner's Pact to go get all the green creatures out of their own deck first and then clean up the table. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I think it's an interesting piece because it fits the stacks area a little bit, because how I imagine I would play it is if I'm pretty far behind, right? I have a Heartwood Storyteller in my hand, and everybody else is like miles, leagues ahead of me. I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna put this Heartwood Storyteller out. Have fun. You know what I mean? Like some people just want to watch the world burn. And I'm playing mono green, and I'm gonna burn it to the ground, right? I'm so far behind it doesn't even matter. I'm gonna put this out there and I'm gonna let you guys have fun, right? Because now everybody who's ahead is like, oh, every instant or sorcery spell I cast now, I'm giving all of my opponents a card. One card is 3 individual cards for everybody else. Nobody wants to be in that situation. Not to mention if there's a Smothering Tithe out. And even playing this ahead too, because you are so restricted on all of the best cards in the format, honestly, it doesn't even matter to you if people draw extra cards, because that means, oh, Rockside is getting a lot of cards, but Blue Farm is also getting a lot of cards. It's just like, if everybody's powerful, nobody's powerful. It's like, it's such a weird dichotomy that happens, and it only happens in cEDH because it's a multiplayer format. It's like, if everybody has a draw engine, then nobody has, like, you know what I mean? It's just like, it's a weird area to be in.
100%.
I think if Heartwood Storyteller is a card that you're going to be using as an outlet, though, I think Dosin and Defense Grid are probably certainly going to be cards that you absolutely need to run in the deck too, because like I said, if there's a Smothering Tithe or if there's some type of way to produce mana off of drawing cards, it is going to be a very, very, very poor, it's going to be very bad if they are able to interact over top of one of these spells and put up a win attempt, right? And one thing I've developed and I've learned a lot about in cEDH is that when it comes to people winning on the stack and winning in instant speed, the best place for their spells to be is on the stack.
Yes.
Permanently. That is the best place. You don't want their spells to go to their hand. You don't want their spells to go back, go into the graveyard. You want their spells to stay on the stack and remain on the stack, right? That is the best place. I will always, in a stack war where I'm winning on at instant speed, or when somebody else is winning at instant speed or trying to win over me, whatever important spell they need to resolve, I hold that on the stack as long as I can, right? As long as I can. When you are playing an outlet like this, where people are able to get advantage off of you attempting to win the game and convert that advantage into an instant speed win, what they're going to do is they're either going to keep your Endurance, your Eternal Witness, or your Beast Within on the stack permanently, and then just win like that, right? So having those types of silence effects in your deck is going to help out a bunch, 100%.
Yeah, especially if you're running already the powerful Finale Devastation or Eldritch Evolution, just to cheat it on board. You know what I'm saying? Like, many times you're going to put these tutors in the board and you're going to have, or your Allosaurus Shepherd, and there's even the new, what is the 2 new green one? Yeah, not the Megahorn. You know which one I'm talking about. It came out in a recent set. Is he not on it? It's 2 green mana, lets you win.
What, that's silent?
It's the one that your spells can't be countered.
Oh, they were on it. They were on it before. I saw them. They were on it. They were on it before. Like creature spells you control can't be countered and damage can't be prevented.
Yeah. What's it called again?
I forget what it's called. They were on it before.
It's okay.
But yeah, they could definitely run that too.
Yeah,
that one wouldn't work with the Beast Within loop.
Gotcha.
Creatures can't be countered, but instants and sorcery spells.
Yeah.
But I see what you're saying.
Yeah, but basically, like, being able to like put these 2 board tutors, it is extremely powerful, but it's less expected from your deck because more people are expecting you to cheat in a combo piece and to be able to, before you ritual out of your mana, you go, I'm gonna Eldritch my little dork. You know what I'm saying? You do the same play, but now, yes, a super skilled player is gonna be like, what are you gonna do with it? And like the whole intimidation thing happens. But you say, bro, if you want to counter this, go and counter it. And you already got your Allosaurus Shepherd on board, or whatever the heck, or whatever you have on your board to protect it, and you're already set in that position. So Allosaurus Shepherd plus that allows you to then have an uncounterable way to get your silence effect on board. Their only option is either to Mind Break Trap it, Sing in the Stupor to put it back in your hand, and you just recast it, or they have to win on the stack. And if you are being explosive enough, where you said it seems like he said he can win as soon as turn 3, that they're not always guaranteed to have those type of options available. So I love the Heartwood Storyteller tech. I think Docent is definitely something to chew on, and I like the direction you're going. Yeah, and I definitely hear what you're saying about Collector Oop. I think it's meta dependent. I hear you. It's meta dependent. Maybe his meta is like, dude, I just see so much rock slide. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of rock slide. Like, I get it. If it hurts yourself, though, is it worth it? All right, can you, kind of going back to what you were brought up about Tivit, can you break parity on your own stacks effects? Because, White has the asymmetric stacks effect of Dranith, and the other stacks effects that are symmetrical are basically asymmetric for you. If Collector Oop is not fully asymmetrical, or you can't easily break parry to him, then you're going to slow yourself down, and especially in timed games, what's going to happen is you're going to run out of time to get more draws, or what end up happening is in untimed games, somebody's just going to find a way to get around it. Because eventually, what happens in untimed games is people play patient enough where the Collector Oop just doesn't become like no one cares about it anymore. At least that's for me. Like, kind of going back to what you were brought up before, if you can play through the stacks piece, it's better to aim with all your tutors and your game actions, play through the stacks piece, than wasting all your resources on that into Flood Ball, Chain of Vapor, or whatever not, to remove the stacks piece. Because it's not just unlocking you, it's unlocking your opponents. So a skilled player is going to say, all right, he has a Collector Oop, I'm gonna just sit behind my Timid and just draw cards, and you're not going to block it with your Collector Oop.
No.
So yeah.
Yep. Other than that, that was really it. I mean, it's an interesting deck because the primer that I was looking at, there are a ton of loops and combos that they brought up, and I'm sure there's probably even more. There's even a couple of outlets in the 99 that allow you to pour your infinite mana into. You know what I mean? So it's a very interesting deck and a very sick deck. I like that it's being presented as more of a storm deck, which it definitely can be.
Yeah.
As more of a storm deck than anything else. Outside of those major factors, I think the Heartwood Storyteller, and also for the Heartwood Storyteller too, I think that's just genuinely, in mono green, a good card. Genuinely. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because unfortunately, you don't have access to any silence effects. You don't have access to any counter spells. You know what I mean? So like, hey, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. You know what I mean? So like, hey, we're both behind. Yeah. I've got a Heartwood Storyteller. Hey, he's got to cast. They've got to cast instants or sorcery spells eventually, right?
Right.
So we're both gonna get something. You know what I mean? So like, what are those? You know, those risks, the risks that you're willing to take. I think become that much greater when you're in color identities that are hindering that much,
Yeah.
right? And technically, it also is kind of like a semi-silence effect too in some cases. In very, very few cases, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's something to consider. I think it's a flexible piece and a piece that is worth considering, especially for the lack of, you know, safety nets that we have for expanding off into other colors. You know what I mean? So
100%. I love this tech. I know you brought this up on DD3. It was cool to hear about it, but like in the story you have for it and how the interesting dynamic they brought in the game. But I also do want to bring up that I really loved your earlier point, and I want to just bring it back to understanding that when you're playing these monocolor commanders or any commander that is lower in the known meta, to lean on your brewer's advantage. I really love the point you brought up of like, you see Selvala, you see Rionya, you see any monocolor or unpopular commander, fringe, whatever you want to call it, meta buster or anything in the pod, many times people are just going to look past it. However, that is where you can lean into the strengths of, I have brewer's advantage. You know what I'm saying? I'll lean back to one of my recent videos I released on YouTube. I was playtesting fucking show and tell in my Tiamat list. You know what I'm saying? Just trying to push the limits of what I can do within cEDH, leveraging some legacy tech. And because my Tiamat brew is not just a good stuff pile, my opponents weren't aware of the alternate lines of navigating. Oh, my Blade Wing is gone, so let me move to my Meringue lines. And oh, my Meringue line got stopped because I got silenced again. Okay, let me pivot into my Invoke Calamity lines right after that. Had they known, if I was just a clean Breach Thassa's deck, that would have been one thing. Cool. My deck quality may have been higher, but the known qualities of how to stop me would have been better known. And so, you know, understand that yes, there's like perfectly how the doc brought up, there's weaknesses to playing a monocolored deck, but also lean into your strengths. And I really love that you brought up that point that the brewer's advantage is real, and you do not need to explain every facet of your deck to your opponents mid game. You can wait till after the game in the post game conversation and just let it be like that. They'd be like, oh, what is the winning line for this deck? I'm like, oh, I'll tell you, let's talk about it after the game. Let's just keep the game going, and we'll talk about it after the game. And then after you whoop their ass, you'd be like, well, this was your interaction point. This is what you should have done. This is what you can help people out afterwards, you know. But
you should have killed my turn 2 Heartwood Storyteller. That's what you should have done.
Exactly. Exactly. You should have killed my turn 2 Heartwood Storyteller. Exactly. Hey, bro, I want to see this in a game. If you got a deck, if anyone has a deck with Heartwood Storyteller,
I don't.
No, if it's either
I do not want to see it in a game.
Where TTC want to see it. If someone has a deck with Heartwood Storyteller in it, I want y'all to join the TC community. I'm gonna find Detro. We're gonna get a game, and it's gonna be us 3+1 on the person. And we go level up with a Heartwood Storyteller. Pre-game action started on the board. Go. Jokes aside, is there anything else you would like to touch on with this awesome Meta Buster Mono Green Selvala list?
Nah, I don't have anything else. This deck is really sick. There's a lot of creature combos and a lot of combos that actually involve both creatures and instants and sorceries. So I think it's definitely something to be on the lookout for. And I've always respected this deck, but of course, you know, I mean, like, you don't see it enough, right? You don't see it enough. It's just like, if it was really ripping as many games, like winning as many games as possible, you would certainly see it more often. But like 1 mana, 12 power, like, is insane to see. Is an insane thing to see. And for that to be doubled, tripled for each fetch land you have is certainly a terrifying thing, and you'll never prepare for it because you don't see it enough, right?
Yeah.
And creature combos are hard to interact with. Yeah, it's a turbo deck, it's a storm deck. It can definitely do the damn thing. You know what I mean? I have no further notes about it. You know what I mean? It's a good deck.
I dig it. Well, dude, I just want to say thank you for another amazing deck review. And I just want to say also that none of this would be possible without the Thunder Legion Patreon. You all are amazing, and you keep the lights on the way that you could not imagine. I'm going to give a humongous shout out to our Is It Tier patrons, Ziggy, the Praetor, MTG Reaper, and Daryl and Blazedkin, as well as our Mono Red Tier patron, Bissy Baxon. You all rock, and you keep the lights on the way that you could not imagine. And to everyone else, I want to thank you all and just have a quick closing remark to just say thank you again to Detro of the Doc. You are awesome, my guy. Thank you for another amazing deck, Doctors. I'm already looking forward to the next one. I want to also give a humongous shout out to the audience in the live ThunderConductor community. You all are awesome. We had Casey in here. We got Gen Fusion here. We had some other people in here throughout the night. So I just want to thank you all as well. And I just want to just let the night end with any closing remarks from Detro of the Doc.
Yeah, man, it's great doing these, you know what I mean? It's super fun, and like we literally just saw, you know what I mean, with me talking about that one creature that doubled power off of lands, you know what I mean? Like there are still things that I need to put into perspective when I'm thinking about things, and I got to talk about it, and you know, my perspective on things change too. So you know what, this format is incredibly flexible. It's all over the place. It's crazy. It's chaotic. You know, people say that it's not a real format, but hey, man, people, it's the same people be winning, bro. The same people be winning, and there is a reason. And we are going to do our best to make sure that everybody is up to that level as best as they possibly can.
Swear.
Right? And I want to do that too. One of these days, I want to be somebody who's just like, man, why is he winning so much? We can all do that. You know what I mean? We can all do that, and we all got to take that little step in there to fix our decks, to change some things, try some different things, try some new perspectives, try some new decks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what we're here for, and that's why this community is here. You know what I mean? Yes,
I resonate and agree, and that just gives me into another pub for the level up ecosystem, man. If you want to level up your game and you want to play with pilots like TTC, Detro, Gen Fusion, Azzy, our guy Ruda guy, we have so many other amazing pilots here who are all looking to level up together. Check out the level up ecosystem to join the level up crew, man. We're all here to grow together, and we all navigate life with accountability, curiosity, mutual respect, and teachability, and move with that growth mindset, because that is what's going to help us take to the next level. Because like Detro brought up, the same people keep winning. So why don't we unlock those secrets together? We don't have to put those in gatekeep things. Let's just unlock those secrets together with an exclusive place where we can come together and say, hey, we got the place to have the fun jokey games, but can we actually level up and be better together? So I'm right there with you, brother. Straight up, man. Let's grow together.
Yep.
But with that being said, all I gotta say left to the audience is y'all are awesome, rock, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.